Chapter 1704. You dared to hurt me. A hoarse voice came out from Yi Qing Luo's lips. Word by word, it was like the beating of a drum, falling heavily into King of Darkness's ears. As she spoke, she opened her eyes. A scarlet red light shot out from the bottom of his eyes. Like a sharp blade, it shot towards the King of Darkness's face. King of Darkness's pupils constricted as he swiftly dodged to the side. You are not that vessel. King of Darkness frowned as he stared at the young lady in front of him. The young lady's eyes were dyed red, bewitching and treacherous. She was expressionless, but her lips curled into a teasing arc. Of course I am not the vessel. I am the owner of the divine phoenix profound heart jade. As she spoke, Yi Qing Luo's petite figure suddenly swayed. The next moment, she appeared in front of King of Darkness. The young lady's fragrance assaulted his nostrils. King of Darkness no longer had the heart to waver as he hurriedly retreated. But Yi Qing Luo lifted her leg and kicked heavily on King of Darkness's abdomen. King of Darkness cried out in pain as his body flew out. King of Darkness didn't even have a chance to react. She was not Yi Qing Luo. Absolutely not Yi Qing Luo. How could Yi Qing Luo possess such powerful strength? Although this strength was not comparable to him at his peak. But she could at least exchange 3 blows with him at his peak. Don't belittle it, just 3 blows. One must know that he was the King of Darkness, the king who ruled over all living things. When he was at his peak, even in the god realm, he could summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. But the current him was not at his peak. He had no way to see through Yi Qing Luo's actions. What on earth was going on? However, Yi Qing Luo didn't give him any chance to think. She was expressionless and her eyes were scarlet red, like an Azura who only knew how to hunt. She only had one goal: to kill the King of Darkness. King of Darkness's body crashed heavily onto the altar. Before he could even get up, his chest suddenly felt stuffy. A foot stomped heavily on his chest. His body fell backwards once again. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Yi Qing Luo looked down at the King of Darkness, whose face was filled with astonishment as she laughed. Her smile was enchanting and enchanting. Don't you like digging out people's hearts? Why don't I dig yours and let you have some fun? There was a hint of cruel mockery in his clear voice. The minute her words landed, Yi Qing Luo had already bent over. Her fair hands entered the King of Darkness' body without any hesitation. His hand pierced through the King of Darkness's chest. Blood splattered, and instantly Yi Qing Luo's hand was stained with fresh blood. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she raised her hand, which was stained with blood. Her crimson red and flirtatious eyes fixed on her own hand. Your blood is also cold. With her actions, the King of Darkness had no way of escaping. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, King of Darkness's body stiffened. Following that, he heard Yi Qing Luo continuing. Indeed, it's just 1/10,000th of his mental power. Even if it pierced through the heart, it wouldn't disappear. The King of Darkness was stunned. She actually knew that he wasn't his real body. Indeed, this physical body was merely a strand of his mental power. Under his rage, it had condensed into a physical body. But before the King of Darkness could regain his senses, Yi Qing Luo touched her lower jaw as a flirtatious smile appeared on her face. Her tone was as light as a breeze. But blood will flow and the senses will hurt. If you can't die, then I can torture you properly. Her voice was like an evil spirit demanding for his life. The King of Darkness's body was extremely tense. Chapter 1705. The pain in King of Darkness's chest, and the feeling of losing blood made his exquisite and cold face turn even paler. It was indeed as Yi Qing Luo had said. This wasn't his original body. Even if he lost all his blood, he wouldn't die. But his original body was damaged. His senses would hurt. He had always been high up, and was used to looking down on everyone. Except for that incident 10,000 years ago. No one could make him suffer such humiliation. This young lady actually made him suffer such humiliation. How could he tolerate it? How could his pride tolerate it? King of Darkness's eyes shot out in intense battle intent. In his heart, he had the urge to kill Yi Qing Luo. He regretted that he had given up the chance to kill her, because he wanted to torture her. If he knew that this vessel would gain the recognition of the divine phoenix profound heart jade, he would definitely dig away her profound heart jade at the first instance. Recalling the scene earlier when Yiqing Luo dug out her profound heart jade and wanted to self-explode, dragging him down to hell with her. The shock in King of Darkness's heart had yet to dissipate. This kind of person absolutely couldn't be left alive. This would definitely be his biggest trouble in the future. Looking at King of Darkness's indiscernible expression, his expression could even open a dye shop. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards happily as she revealed a coquettish smile. Don't be anxious. I have always been a vengeful person, and I repay it very generously. Whatever you did to me earlier, I will return it to you 100 folds. As she said that, the foot which was on his stomach started to press downwards. Suddenly, her gaze swept past the position 3 inches below the King of Darkness's navel. The smile on the corners of her lips swayed and swayed, turning into an evil smile. Noticing Yiqing Luo's expression, King of Darkness's face instantly turned black. This crazy woman actually wanted to turn him into a eunuch? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her body was enveloped in a dazzling red glow, blurring her beautiful face. She let out a low laugh, as though she was ridiculing King of Darkness's inability to resist. As though she was ridiculing King of Darkness's red and green face. King of Darkness was infuriated by this gaze and smile. The hollow feeling in his chest made his expression extremely unsightly. He was the King of Darkness, but he was being tormented by a young girl. If this news were to spread, how would he, the King of Darkness, still have the face to rule the 4 worlds? His eyes suddenly turned cold and sinister. Under Yiqing Luo's double attack, he made the most direct counterattack. He ignored the wound on his chest. He stretched out his arms and pinched the foot that was stepping on his abdomen. Yiqing Luo immediately reacted and lifted her leg to struggle. But the King of Darkness was boiling with rage, and he couldn't care less about Yiqing Luo's resistance. Both his hands grabbed Yiqing Luo's leg tightly and exerted force. There was a click sound. The sound of bones breaking resounded in the sky. At the same time, the King of Darkness reached his hand into the gaping wound on his chest. He was actually pulling out pieces of bone from the wound. The sound of bones creaking was especially eerie in this silent and strange atmosphere. Yiqing Luo's figure spun in midair, and by the time she landed on the ground, that leg which had its bones broken could no longer land on the ground. Waves of piercing pain stimulated her senses. Her bloodshot eyes seemed to be covered with blood. She stared unblinkingly at the man in front of her, who was grabbing her bloody bone. A thick profound yin qi revolved around his arm. Round after round it merged into the bone. He opened his palm. Chapter 1706. King of Darkness gripped the bone sword in his hand tightly. The profound yin qi was still flowing. He laughed coldly, as he no longer had the intention to tangle with Yiqing Luo. He raised his sword and charged towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Little vessel, you've successfully infuriated me. To be able to see the dark divine relic, you should die in peace. His words fell, and he had already charged in front of Yiqing Luo. The bone sword in his hand flashed a biting cold sword glow. Yiqing Luo's blood-red pupils surfaced a cold smile. Although one of her legs was fractured, but that didn't mean that she would be controlled by the King of Darkness. Dark divine relic? So what? Those who dared to hurt her and dig away her profound heart jade had to die. Looking at the incoming black long sword, Yiqing Luo raised her glower flame fan fearlessly as her fingertips hooked out 2 strands of silver silk and coiled towards the black long sword. Each strand of silver silk turned into a sharp blade that could cut through metal like mud. After coiling around the long sword, Yiqing Luo immediately retreated backwards. The long silver silk pulled out a long line between the two of them. The black long sword was overflowing with sword qi, as the profound yin qi expanded wantonly. Under the silver silk's coiling, it gave off a buzzing sound. The taut silver silk also started to tremble. A tyrannical profound yin qi followed the black long sword's silver silk and started to spread. Momentarily, the 2 taut silver silk were covered with a thick black qi. It flew speedily towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her slender fingers flicked. Those two strands of silver silk instantly retracted. The moment it separated from the black long sword, the profound yin qi suddenly dispersed. But, the moment her silver silk retracted, a sinister smile flashed past King of Darkness's eyes. He raised the black long sword in his hand, as his imposing manner was like a rainbow as he waved it out. The chilly sword qi carried the profound heart qi, like a poisonous snake's tongue, sweeping everything in front of it. What kind of power was this? She had no way to detect it. That sword qi was too ostentatious and too majestic. Yiqing Luo's figure stretched out as she floated in midair. That huge wound on her chest started to emit balls of dazzling red light. Yiqing Luo's pair of eyes gazed at the surroundings as the red glow turned even more devilish and treacherous. A powerful, profound energy erupted from her body. It intertwined with the sword glow, which was surrounded by mysterious yin energy. His blood-stained robe fluttered in the strong wind. Her fine black hair danced wildly on her shoulders. The huge wound on his chest was surging with a majestic and vast power. She would not allow the King of Darkness to retaliate. She wanted to dominate this battle. Looking at the oncoming sword radiance, Yiqing Luo suddenly shut her eyes. At this moment, the palm of his hand was constantly transforming into a mirage. Under her movements, the glowing flame fan danced quickly. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo's movements paused. The devouring flame fan unfolded between her hands. Following Yiqing Luo's palm wind, the gourd flame fan immediately turned into a spinning top and flew towards the sword light. When the glowing flame fan and the sword light collided, the air around them vibrated with waves of qi that rippled out in all directions. The two forces were equally matched. King of Darkness's heart trembled as his eyes were filled with disbelief. His dark bone sword actually wasn't able to break through this vessel's defense? How could this be possible? This container actually withstood his attack? No way. He couldn't waste any more time with the vessel. There was too much blood seeping out from his chest. He forcefully pulled out the bone sword. This body couldn't hold on for much longer. He had to end this battle quickly. Chapter 1707. Go and die. King of Darkness's cruel voice rang out. He faced the two waves of profound qi as he brandished the dark bone sword and stabbed towards Yiqing Luo. The collision of profound qi caused King of Darkness's robe to be shredded into pieces. Traces of blood seeped out from the densely packed scars on his body. He still didn't care. Bearing with the backlash from the collision of profound qi, the long sword was already charging towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo had not expected King of Darkness to use such a ruthless method. There was no way for her to retreat. That black long sword had already pierced towards her head in the next instance. Just at this critical moment, suddenly, a hurricane with raging flames knocked the long sword's trajectory away. The long sword pierced through thin air. King of Darkness didn't even have time to react. He only felt as if his waist had been hit hard by something. Instantly, his body flew backwards like an arrow that had left the bow. In midair, blood splattered everywhere. Ah! Following a miserable shriek, King of Darkness fell onto the ground. The bone sword in his hand also fell onto the ground, giving off a crisp sound of impact. What was this? What was it that stopped his attack just now? King of Darkness forcefully supported his injured body as he flipped himself up and stared angrily in front of him. This stare made him take a step back in shock as he sucked in a mouthful of cold air. In front of him was the young lady who should have died under his bone sword. At this moment, she was like a bloodthirsty Azura as she floated in midair. Her blood-red eyes were filled with a biting cold and eerie aura. Her entire body was emitting a raging airflow. A huge whirlpool revolved around her feet. It was emitting a thick, vicious, bloodthirsty and austere aura. On her right was a noble and elegant vermilion bird with resplendent phoenix feathers as it stood proudly. On her left was a majestic white tiger, whose fur was burnt, but it still couldn't conceal its king of beasts' might. Vermilion bird, white tiger, two sacred beasts. Earlier, that raging hurricane which deflected his long sword was the vermilion bird's attack. The force which sent him flying earlier was the white tiger. No, something was wrong. King of Darkness stared at the vermilion bird as his voice was hoarse and deep. Vermilion bird. Are you going to betray the underground forces? He wanted to use the dark spell to control the vermilion bird's mind again. But earlier when he was executing the soul-absorbing incantation, he was smashed on the face by Yi Qing Luo's medicinal powder. He couldn't gather his spiritual energy at all. Bah! You bad guy. I'm a supreme holy beast. How could I possibly be in cahoots with the dark forces? You, a lowly human, want to use a secret technique to control this holy beast. How dare you question this sacred beast? Do you believe that this sacred beast will send you to the heavens in minutes? Qi Yan stared at the blood-red beast eyes and spread his wings angrily. He wished he could give him a wing directly and let him die as far as he could. The King of Darkness's face turned ashen. You used the ancient dark secret technique to control Qi Yan's mind and deliberately made Qi Yan sign a soul contract with me. You wanted Qi Yan to use the raging flames to pollute my profound jade heart, pollute my soul, so that I could be completely used by your dark forces. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled lightly. Then she lifted her long and narrow eyes and said with a faint smile, "Am I right?" The King of Darkness fell silent. This was a tacit agreement. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laugh lightly. In order to control her soul, her profound jade heart, the dark forces could even give up one of the 4 sacred beasts, the vermilion bird. That was rather strenuous. But not only did they give up the vermilion bird, they even pushed the vermilion bird into her hands. Chapter 1708. King of Darkness looked at the young lady, who was smiling sweetly in front of him in shock. She was Yi Qing Luo. She was really Yi Qing Luo. But why was she able to become so powerful in that instance? The power of the divine phoenix profound heart jade was also constantly increasing. King of Darkness obediently returned to the sacred region seal and accept the eternal seal. Yi Qing Luo glanced coldly at the shocked King of Darkness. With a leap, she leapt onto Chi-Chi's back. With a wave of her hand, a killing aura suddenly exploded in the surroundings. Go! South Waves Continent, Valley Wind City's headquarters courtyard. The entire courtyard was filled with people as students from various academies surged in. But everything around him was deathly silent. Everyone's emotions had sunk to the bottom. No one opened their mouth to break the strange atmosphere. Especially the skyward first house, which was the quietest. Dean Xian stood at the entrance of the courtyard with his forehead full of sweat, as he looked at the rows of elders dressed in white robes, standing in front of him. This was the Blazing Flame Nest special training. There were 1,500 over students from various academies. But there were only 1,200 over students who returned. But this number, to the various academy students, was already a miracle. If it wasn't for Yi Qing Luo, none of them would be able to return. All of them would die in the Blazing Flame Nest. This was the least death that Yi Qing Luo had exchanged for with her own life. The students had returned safely, and to the various academies, large families and powerhouses, it was a joyous matter. Some were happy while others were worried. Dean Xian was feeling apprehensive at this moment. If it wasn't for his strong willpower, his legs would probably have turned into jelly. He roughly understood what had happened in the Blazing Flame Nest from the various academy students. He was extremely shocked that Yi Qing Luo was able to destroy the Dark Side's plan, which had been going on for close to 2 months. The spirit assimilation array was destroyed. The dark forces were all massacred. Even Wolf Saint Law and Pharaoh he were severely injured by Yi Qing Luo. What kind of pervert was she? Luckily the dark forces had left a way out. Such a powerful pervert. If they could control her and make her into the dark forces' chess piece, it would definitely make up for the failure of this mission. Dean Xian kept reminding himself in this way. But however, he was still terrified. Would the dark world push all the blame to him and make him the scapegoat if the mission failed? Just at this time, Long Yunzhan, Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin walked into the courtyard, their bodies filled with exhaustion and worry. As soon as the crowd saw the 3 of them, they immediately went forward to welcome them. The president of the general hospital asked eagerly, "How is it? Is there any news about Yi Qing Luo?" The 3 of them were silent. Everyone's face darkened. Obviously, They didn't get any information. The Heavenly Dean also walked forward quickly. Is there still no news? Weren't the members of the Dark Forces subdued by the disciples of the Imperial Palace? Also, aren't Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian imprisoned in the dungeon? Can't we get some information from them? The Heavenly Dean was worried that the people from the Dark Forces would sell him out, which was why he was so anxious. But in other people's eyes, they all thought that he was worried for Yiqing Luo. Chapter 1709. Although that was the case, but everyone knew that Yiqing Luo's chances were slim. After all, she had ruined the Dark Forces' plan, killed so many people from the Dark Forces. Now she was controlled by the Dark Forces. How could the Dark Forces let her off? Don't worry too much, that lass is not someone to be trifled with. Zoemo slowly walked into the crowd. His slanted eyes were fixed on the worried face of the girl in the crowd. His long arms stretched out and brought the young lady into his arms. His broad palm covered the back of the young lady's head and pressed her head onto his chest. His action caused the crowd to look over in astonishment. Zoemo was one of the instructors that Ghost Marshal had brought along. He actually hugged a student. That student seemed to be a devil-class student. Little wildcat, that bitter face, don't you believe in your sister's ability? Zoemo didn't care about the surrounding students' gazes, as he comforted the person in his arms in a gentle voice. Kitty Lee pursed her lips, as all she could think about was Yiqing Luo. Hence towards Zoemo's action she didn't resist. Leaning on his chest, Kitty Lee's spirit eyes, which were like the vast starry sky, was filled with a layer of mist. Her ears were filled with his heartbeat. It made her feel a sense of security. Amen. I believe in my sister's ability. She opened her mouth and her voice was extremely soft and slow, revealing a suppressed sobbing tone. Zoemo tightened his arms as he gently kissed her hair. It's said that a scourge lives for 1,000 years. That scourge of hers, even the heavens don't dare to accept it. Kitty Lee's brows were still furrowed. Believing in Yiqing Luo's ability was one thing, but not worrying was another thing. Devil Class's students were all silent. Director sighed softly. We will take full responsibility for the Blazing Flame Nest's matter. No matter what, we will try our best to rescue our hero student Yiqing Luo. Director took a look at the elder beside him. The elder immediately took a step forward. We have already spread the news of the Dark Forces conspiracy to the other continents. All the cultivators in the various continents will pay attention to the Dark Forces movements. When the other academy's directors and elders heard that, they all stood out to express their stance. Yes, the Dark Forces are acting so wantonly. What do they take our Nirvana realm for? This time, all of us from the 4 continents will unite and destroy the Dark Forces. This time, the Dark Forces were trying to absorb the souls of all the students. In other words, he had offended forces from all over the world. At that moment, the halls were filled with the cheers of the students from the various academies. The Heavenly Dean looked at everyone's menacing aura, and cold sweat oozed out of his forehead. He had never expected that such a tight operation would fail. Moreover, the Dark Forces had become the common target of all the forces on the 4 continents. Once the Dark Forces lost their power, his position as the Dean, I'm afraid I won't be able to keep it. As for the students of the Devil class, they kept silent, and the expressions on their faces were extremely solemn. Right at that moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the horizon. Following that, something fell from the sky like a rolling wave. Bang! A black obsidian beast landed in front of everyone. No one had time to react. A white figure flipped down from the top of the black owl beast. Chapter 1710. The boorish roar shocked everyone present. For a moment, the noisy dormitory once again became incomparably silent. Everyone stared blankly at the crazy old man who appeared out of nowhere. The white figure pounced onto the Heavenly Dean's body. He grabbed the Dean's collar with one hand and clenched his fist with the other, his face full of rage. How the F***ck did you become the Dean? I let you be the Dean. I let you be. A punch landed heavily on the Heavenly Dean's face. The Dean cried out in pain, struggling to free the crazy old man's hand. But the more he struggled, The strength of the crazy old man's grip became tighter. In the end, he simply grabbed the heavenly dean's neck and pressed him to the ground. There was no scruple of his dignity as the dean. The dean's face was livid. His face was stuck to the ground, and his mouth was full of sand. The deans of the surrounding academies were standing at the side and gesticulating. The dean couldn't bear it anymore, gritting his teeth. Guiyu, are you crazy? This is the school building. How dare you act so presumptuously? He clasped the crazy old man's arm with his backhand. Guiyu spat. I don't care where you are. You killed my Luo girl. I want you to be buried with her. You are you thinking of? The dean was flustered and exasperated. Want to kick me out of the school? Don't you King forget who got you the position of dean? Guiyu snorted disdainfully. The dean trembled with anger. His strength was far from Guiyu's. There was no way he could break free from Guiyu's grip. Enough! Guiyu, let him go. A calm voice came from behind Guiyu. This voice sounded extremely familiar. Guiyu's body stiffened, frowning as he looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a young man in black, looking at him coldly. Guiyu blinked his eyes, looking past the young man in black, looking for something. Stop looking, it's me. That familiar voice came from the young man in black. Guiyu was slightly startled. Suddenly, he jumped up from the ground and pounced on the young man. F***CK. 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 You're too King shameless. He's just an old man. But he actually made himself so handsome. The black-clothed youth's face was gloomy as he glanced at him coldly. Old man Guiyu's agitated emotions gradually calmed down. The heavenly dean got up from the ground and wiped the sand off his face in embarrassment. Yiqing Luo's move in the blazing flame nest. As a result, he was highly respected and admired by the deans of the various academies. But now that old man Guiyu had messed around, in the next few years, he, the Heavenly Academy's dean, would be a joke in the mouths of other academies. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness and resentment. When he glared at Guiyu fiercely, he discovered that Guiyu had obediently shut his mouth under Guiyu's gaze. He was astonished. One had to know that old man Guiyu's temperament was unpredictable, and he did things according to his whims. He wouldn't care about anyone or any scene. Do whatever you want. But he was actually afraid of the ghost martial artist? Guiyu and Guiyu knew each other? What are you doing in the southern continent? Guiyu frowned. Looking at Guiyu, who was dressed in a messy and crazy outfit, he was somewhat displeased. Guiyu scratched his messy hair like withered grass. Something happened to the Luo girl. I'm here to save her. I don't need you, Guiyu said faintly. Go back to your western continent. Chapter 17:11. Guiyu squinted his eyes and fixed his gaze on Guiyu for a long time. Without saying anything more, he turned around and walked out of the school dormitory. Guiyu immediately followed Guiyu's footsteps. Hey, I haven't asked you, what are you doing in South Continent? Wait a minute. Guiyu seemed to have thought of something as he quickened his footsteps. Your current identity seems to be a martial arts fanatic, giving special training to various academy students. Don't tell me you've lost my last Luo? Guiyu's footsteps halted, but he didn't turn back. But his actions indicated everything. Guiyu cried out loudly as he pounced onto Guiyu. You're present, and you actually allowed the dark forces to take my last Luo away. Do you know that on her? Before he could finish his words, Guiyu's mouth was sealed by Guiyu's hand. Their voices were getting further and further away. The school dormitory was in dead silence once again. The students from various academies looked at each other in dismay, looking at Guiyu and Guiyu, who were already far away, then looking at the ashen-faced and disheveled Principal Xian. In the end, they chose to appease everyone one by one and returned to their own courtyard to rest. In just a short moment, the entire heaven room was left with only the students from the devil class, still standing at their original spots. As though they couldn't wait for Yiqing Luo's news, they didn't have the mood to go back to rest. After half a jaw stick of silence, Long Yunzhan slowly walked towards the students from devil class. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiaojin followed closely behind. Upon entering the sky dormitory, Kitty Lee broke free from Zomo's embrace and quickly ran to Long Yunjan's side. "Brother Long, Kitty Lee knows you can find my sister. You bring Kitty Lee to find my sister, all right?" Her eyes were filled with tears. Her little hands clutched Long Yunjan's sleeve tightly. She believed in Yiqing Luo's ability, but she was still very worried about Yiqing Luo. If she was by Yiqing Luo's side, she would definitely be able to help her. Long Yunjan lowered his eyes and looked at the tearful beauty in front of him. His azure blue eyes flickered slightly. He wasn't surprised that Kitty Lee had seen through his identity. Kitty Lee was the princess of the cat clan and had the sensitivity of a cat beast. She could naturally smell and sense that he wasn't a real human. He could indeed find Yiqing Luo. However, Long Yunjan narrowed his eyes and slowly brushed Kitty Lee's hand away. She will be back soon. At this time, the Devil class students had already entered the Sky Room 1. When Yen Xiaoyi heard Long Yunjan's words, she couldn't hold it in any longer. She quickly rushed forward. "Class monitor, do you know something?" Yen Xiaoyi had this feeling ever since returning from the flame lair. Thinking back to when they discovered Yiqing Luo being controlled by Tao Wu in the blazing flame nest, Long Yunjan's action of calling Devil class's students to leave Yiqing Luo. Moreover, after Yiqing Luo was taken away by the dark forces, even the Overlord didn't manage to catch her. He still calmly called the students back to their dorms. The more she thought about it, the stranger it was. It wasn't that she didn't know how much Long Yunjan cared about Yiqing Luo. There was no way Long Yunjan would abandon Yiqing Luo and lead the students back. When everyone heard Yen Xiaoyi's question, their footsteps instantly stopped. All of them looked at Long Yunjan with anxious and worried eyes. Long Yunjan looked calm. His azure blue eyes swept across the brothers in front of him. "I only know that Qing Luo is not controlled by the dark forces." Chapter 17:12. Not controlled by the dark forces? Devil class's students opened their eyes wide as they looked at Long Yunjan. Boss Qing Luo intentionally pretended that she was being controlled? Long Yunjan replied calmly. The hearts of the Devil class's students could finally be at ease. However, a new wave of worry surged into his heart. If those people from the dark forces found out that Boss Qing Luo was pretending, would they make a move on her? Boss Qing Luo is alone in the dark forces. If anything were to happen, what should we do? At this moment, we should stay by Boss Qing Luo's side. Yiqing Luo pretended to be obsessed with lust, and then took the initiative to be brought away by the dark forces. It must have been to attract the attention of the dark forces, so that they would focus their attacks on her. The dark forces were so terrifying. Yiqing Luo was alone. Was it really safe? The students of Devil class were deeply worried. Looking at the students discussing animatedly, Long Yunjan's expression could no longer remain calm. Xiao Jin opened his mouth in time. The Overlord and the Imperial Palace's disciples have already rushed towards the dark forces, and Qing Luo will be brought back safely very soon. Everyone looked at Xiao Jin. Everyone go back to your rooms and wait for news. At the very least, wash away the smell of blood on your body. Xiao Jin pushed the students around and said with a face full of disgust. Devil class's students hesitated in their steps. Yiqing Luo's life or death was still unknown, so how would they have the mood to return to their rooms to bathe? Qing Luo will never do anything that she's not confident in. There's also the Overlord who's going to take action. So what are you worried about? Xiao Jin's tone was relaxed. After much persuasion, he finally managed to chase the students of Devil class back to their rooms. Xiao Jin wiped the sweat off his forehead as he turned his head towards Long Yunjan. The Overlord will definitely be able to bring Qing Luo back, so even if you rush over, there's no use at all. After pausing for a moment, his gaze fell onto Tong Ziqing, who was walking a few steps away, then looking back worriedly. He sighed softly. Cherish the people in front of you. Don't let yourself regret it. His words caused Long Yunjan's expression to change slightly. With his perception, he could naturally sense Tong Ziqing's gaze on him. He thought of the scar on Tong Ziqing's back. He clenched his fists. When he raised his eyes again, his face had already regained its calm and indifference. Her azure eyes were as calm as a still lake. She looked at Xiao Jin quietly. You too. With that, Long Yunjian turned around and returned to his room. In the courtyard of Residence Sky, only Qiao Jin and Yin Xiaoyi were left. Long Yunjian's words made Qiao Jin's heart tremble slightly. His gaze instinctively looked towards Yin Xiaoyi. Coincidentally, he met Yin Xiaoyi's gaze. A ripple that Qiao Jin couldn't understand faintly rippled in her beautiful eyes. In the depths of his eyes, there seemed to be great sorrow and endurance. And at the moment when their eyes met, Yin Xiaoyi hurriedly avoided eye contact and turned to head out of the courtyard. I will also return to my room first. Her footsteps were slightly flustered. He looked at her back as she left. An indescribable panic surged up in Qiao Jin's heart. Thinking of the 3 words that Long Yunjian said just now, his heart suddenly trembled violently. Almost subconsciously, he had already taken quick steps forward as he grabbed Yin Xiaoyi's wrist. Xiaoyi, don't leave first. Yin Xiaoyi's petite body trembled as her body stiffened slightly as she stopped in her tracks. Chapter 17:13. His tone was calm and indifferent. There wasn't the slightest bit of intimacy from before. Looking at the indifference in Yin Xiaoyi's eyes, Qiao Jin felt a dull pain in his heart. His hand grasped Yin Xiaoyi's wrist tightly. He used so much force that Yin Xiaoyi couldn't help but frown in pain. Qiao Jin panicked and released her wrist. I'm sorry. Yin Xiaoyi rubbed her reddened hands. When she heard his apology, she couldn't help but feel annoyed. She couldn't understand. How could his eyes be so blind? Why did she fall for this bad-tempered and ugly man? Moreover, this man looked down on her. What she wanted was never an apology from him. If there's nothing else, I'll return to my room first. Yin Xiaoyi pursed her red lips, and did not have the mood to be entangled with Qiao Jin. Xiaoyi, you don't treat me with such an attitude. The latter half of the sentence reached his mouth, but Qiao Jin couldn't say a single word. Looking at the impatience in Yin Xiaoyi's eyes, he took a deep breath and calmed his own tone. Don't be too worried, Qing Luo will be fine. I know. Yin Xiaoyi's brows knitted even tighter. He stopped her just to say this. She didn't want to hear any more comforting words. Qiao Jin was even more at a loss for what to do, and a trace of panic appeared on his ordinary face. Why did he stop Yin Xiaoyi? He didn't understand it himself. But, looking at Yin Xiaoyi's departing figure, suddenly he didn't want Yin Xiaoyi to leave. You? Yin Xiaoyi stared at the expression on Qiao Jin's face, unable to understand what he was thinking in his heart. It is said that a woman's heart is unfathomable. In her opinion, this man's heart was also a needle in the ocean. Qiao Jin clenched his fists tightly, and was unable to spit out a word for a long time. Looking at the conflicted and helpless look on his face, Yi Zichen saw that he was at a loss for what to do. She didn't know what was bothering him. He disappeared just like that. He appeared just like that. Then he acted as if nothing had happened. When Yin Xiaoyi thought of this, she was infuriated. He could not be bothered to say anything more to Qiao Jin, and directly turned to leave. He hadn't taken a few steps when Qiao Jin's low and deep voice, that was filled with restrained and complicated emotions, resounded from behind him. I'm sorry, Xiaoyi. Another apology. Ever since he had appeared, he had been apologizing to her. Did he think that by apologizing, she would forgive him for his sudden disappearance? No way. Yin Xiaoyi snorted lightly. She stopped in her tracks and twisted her body, looking at Qiao Jin with a smile that wasn't a smile. You lost. I'm sorry about what happened to Xishang Lan. Qiao Jin spoke before she could, and gave her a 90-degree bow. Yin Xiaoyi's words were stuck in her throat. The expression on his face gradually became cold. Is this what you want to apologize for? Qiao Jin raised his head, and his eyes were filled with sincerity. I know you're angry. I interfered with your relationship, and I didn't care whether you liked Xishang Lan or not. I pushed you to his side. It's my fault. Yin Xiaoyi interrupted him. You keep apologizing to me because of Xishang Lan? Could it be that I've done something wrong? Qiao Jin was startled and carefully probed. Yin Xiaoyi clenched her fists and the corner of her eyes twitched. Soon after, a brilliant smile appeared on her beautiful face. She looked at Qiao Jin smilingly and said word by word. No, you did very well. although she was smiling. But this tone. Chapter 17:14. Xiao Jin understood Yin Xiaoyi. How could he not see the storm gathered under Yin Xiaoyi's smile? He was somewhat at a loss. He realized that ever since the incident with Shi Shanglan, he was unable to understand what Yin Xiaoyi was thinking. I really know I was wrong. Don't worry. I will definitely not interfere with your feelings in the future. You can like whoever you want. I will definitely not interfere at all. He spoke quickly. As he spoke, he sincerely raised 3 fingers and made an oath. Like whoever I want. Not interfere. These few words caused the expression on Yin Xiaoyi's face to gradually turn cold and congeal. Her beautiful eyes were emotionless as she stared at Xiao Jin. What kind of mood did he have to say those words? Yin Xiaoyi was furious. She suddenly reached out and grabbed Xiao Jin's collar. She laughed coldly. You can like whoever you want. Her smile was extremely cold. Xiao Jin was flustered and confused. He nodded in a daze. Yes. All right, then I'll tell you I like. Before he could say the word you. Suddenly, a wave of hurried footsteps came from outside Tian Room 1. Then, a figure hurriedly rushed into the courtyard. Xiaoyi, are you all right? After that person rushed into the courtyard, he stopped in his tracks when he saw the scene inside. A wounded expression appeared on his face that was as gentle as jade. Then he turned around and quickly walked back. Sorry for disturbing you. Xiao Jin's gaze landed on that back figure. That figure was tall and wore a dark red long robe woven with gold. Seeing that robe, Xiao Jin's pupils contracted. He frantically pushed away the hand on his collar. Young Master Shi, you misunderstood. He pulled away from Yin Xiaoyi and quickly caught up. Young Master Shi, why are you here? Shi Shanglan was pulled back by Xiao Jin. Seeing Shi Shanglan's wounded expression but forcefully suppressing his pain, Xiao Jin pursed his lips and explained dryly. Xiaoyi often plays with me. Just now, she wanted to beat me up. Don't misunderstand. Shi Shanglan stilled slightly, seeing the mess on his collar, and thinking back to Yin Xiaoyi's aggressive manner just now. Yi Zichen felt his heart skip a beat. The expression on his face finally eased up a lot. On the other side, Yin Xiaoyi, who was standing at the same spot, lowered her head in silence, stood there in a daze. Her loose hair covered her face. It also covered the expression on her face. Yin Xiaoyi stared blankly at her hand that had been pushed away. Her fingertips could still feel the warmth of his body. He was explaining to Shi Shanglan. He had clearly distanced himself from their relationship. She was so afraid that people would misunderstand their relationship. Was he so unwilling to have anything to do with her? He looked at his hands. Yin Xiaoyi suddenly felt just like his abandoned self. He would never be able to see her who loved him so much. In the darkness sanctuary, the air seemed to be filled with a foul wind and bloody rain. The King of Darkness's body was drenched in blood, and there were wounds all over his body as he laid on the ground. The bone sword that was known as the divine weapon of darkness fell beside the King of Darkness. The sword glow was already covered in a layer of darkness. The aura of the mysterious Yin energy was also gradually dissipating. In front of the King of Darkness, that young lady dressed in a blood-red robe was still standing proudly. The eye-catching red glow on her body was flickering in a demonic manner. Is the time limit almost up? Yi Qing Luo placed her feather fan on her lips as she smiled gently. Chapter 17:15. This young lady was simply a pervert. Simply a devil. King of Darkness was filled with fear towards Yi Qing Luo. Even more than that, was endless hatred. Yi Qing Luo indeed did what she said. She said she would return it back 100 times. Then she would return it back 100 times. Previously, he had struck her vital parts, but it wasn't fatal, torturing her bit by bit. Now she was doing the same to him. And it was returned 100 times. His entire body was filled with scars from Yi Qing Luo's torture. This young lady was extremely vicious. She could be so vicious to herself, not to mention to others. The King of Darkness panted heavily, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger. You think, being chosen by the divine phoenix profound heart jade, you can soar to the skies in this lifetime? Heh. King of Darkness sneered, His eyes were filled with ridicule. "This is only the beginning of your calamity." Yi Qing Luo's blood-red eyes flashed slightly. She lowered her eyes. Her curly long lashes, under the alluring red light, were plated with a red glow. The wound on her chest, which was almost pierced by King of Darkness, blossomed with an extremely demonic glow. That glow filled her entire body. It was the power of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Her pink lips curled up slightly, her eyes were filled with ridicule. "I've been seen through," I thought. Based on King of Darkness's eyesight, he would only think that I suddenly showed my prowess. The Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade saved you, so what? This power can suppress me, so naturally it will transmit the aura of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade to the upper realm. Once the people from the upper realm sense the aura of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, King of Darkness laughed sinisterly. The people who want to obtain the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, the ambitious people, are not only this king, and not only the dark forces. In the dozens of moves just now, Yi Xiwen's expression changed. King of Darkness also knew why Yi Qing Luo's power suddenly increased explosively. It was because he was too eager to force her. He forced Yi Qing Luo to take the risk, to be ruthless, to dig out the Profound Heart Jade in an attempt to self-explode. That was why the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade had to protect its master's life, to prevent it from exploding. Hence she automatically released a small portion of her energy to block his attack, and in the shortest time possible, it raised Yi Qing Luo's physical quality and the intensity of her strength. To be more precise, in other words, Yi Qing Luo had undergone a mutation under the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade's transformation. The energy which completely oppressed the King of Darkness wasn't Yi Qing Luo's energy. Instead, it was the power that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade released on its own. However, it was only a small portion of its power. It was enough to deal with the King of Darkness. This small portion of power was also very likely. It will be transmitted to the upper realm. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly. Her pink lips were dyed with a bewitching and eye-catching dimple. "So what? Just as you said, only I, who is afflicted with the Profound Heart Jade, can display its greatest effect. Then, I am the owner of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. The reason why this world is divided into 4 realms and several planes of existence proves that this is a balanced world with rules that belong to the heavenly Tao. There are rules, there is balance. Even if the people from the upper realm knew that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade had appeared in the lower realm, they wouldn't be able to rush over immediately to make a move on her. And by the time the upper realm sensed it and rushed over, she could borrow the Azure Dew bracelet to conceal the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade's aura. This point, Old Man Song could totally do it. Yi Qing Luo slowly lowered her body. The chill in her eyes wandered. From this angle she could clearly see. Chapter 17:16. Drops of fresh blood dripped onto the ground, onto King of Darkness's face. King of Darkness, you who have been in deep slumber for thousands of years, continue to sleep. Her pink lips rose slightly. Her smile was vicious and icy cold. She waved her glower flame fan. A hurricane swept up King of Darkness's body, fiercely smashing it onto the altar. King of Darkness was shocked, as he cried out miserably. His body was stuck onto the wall, which was filled with talismans. A bone-chilling cold instantly invaded King of Darkness. "No, I don't want to sleep anymore. I want to wake up. I want to wake up." King of Darkness screamed hysterically, as he continued to struggle. After Yi Qing Luo threw him towards the sacred region seal, she swept up the dark bone sword, and held it in her hand. She played with this black long sword, as she looked at the frantically struggling King of Darkness with a smile which didn't look like a smile. "Unfortunately, your struggle will not go as you wish." Following King of Darkness's unresigned howl, his body completely disappeared into that seal which was filled with talismans. The surroundings fell into silence. King of Darkness's voice completely disappeared. The moment the King of Darkness disappeared, everyone was stunned. Yi Qing Luo's body swayed slightly. A feeling of exhaustion from exhaustion instantly surged up her mind. She forcefully held on to her consciousness as she asked Old Man Song. In this way, King of Darkness's consciousness is also considered to be sealed. He is a physical body which is formed from mental energy. You have already completely destroyed King of Darkness's mental energy, causing heavy damage to King of Darkness's original body. This time, King of Darkness wants to awaken once again to make a comeback. Old Man Song paused. At least, he needs to sleep for 1,000 years. After his consciousness awakens, according to the method he used for the past 100 years, to collect the soul, then the seal can be broken. Sleep for 1,000 years? Which meant to say, for close to 1,000 years, there was no need to worry about King of Darkness appearing again. And no need to worry about King of Darkness stirring up trouble. That's good. That's good. Her mission had finally been completed. The moment she felt relieved, Yiqing Luo's body softened as she fell backwards. Her blood-red eyes, as the red glow gradually faded, as it returned to its original color. The red glow enveloping her body slowly gathered as it moved towards the wound on her chest. Ugly woman! Roar! Vermilion Bird and Chi-Chi flew over. Vermilion Bird's sharp beak bit on a piece of Yiqing Luo's clothes. Chi-Chi used her own body to cushion Yiqing Luo. The moment the two sacred beasts came into contact with Yiqing Luo, suddenly, the red glow which was gathering towards Yiqing Luo's chest directly extended to the two sacred beasts. The bewitching red light was dazzling. In an instant, the massive bodies of the two sacred beasts were enveloped in the red glow. The two sacred beasts didn't even have the time to express their surprise. A red light flashed before his eyes. The two sacred beasts lost consciousness. The two sacred beasts that were enveloped by the red light suddenly shrunk, turned into two red dots, and rushed into the girl's body. Without the support of the holy beast, the girl's body softly fell backward. The blood-stained uniform was like a blood-stained butterfly spreading its wings. Just as the girl's body fell to the ground, his tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. Her eyes were as black as glass, and her eyes were shining with brilliance. The glower flame fan in her fingertips suddenly flew out from her hands. It automatically opened up in midair, as streams of red airflow flew out. That airflow intertwined, as it supported Yiqing Luo's falling body in midair. Chapter 1717. Her legs were still weak and powerless. She took a deep breath and raised her slender white hand with difficulty as she pressed her brows. Just now, when her consciousness was completely pulled away, suddenly she heard the two sacred beasts' cries. After she forcibly woke up, Qi Yan and Chi-Chi were no longer around. She didn't have the extra energy to check the situation in the pet space. Lass, your injuries are too serious. If you don't treat it quickly, you won't be able to hold on. Old Man Song used the Azure Dew Bracelet's power to help Yiqing Luo do a full scan. The battle between Yiqing Luo and the King of Darkness. No matter if it was external or internal injuries, she had suffered heavy injuries. Especially after she forcefully dug out the profound heart jade and released its power. This body had completely exceeded the load that she could bear. Lass, listen to me now. Withdraw your consciousness into the Azure Dew Bracelet and start healing yourself. After your injuries have stabilized, then think of a way to leave the dark sacred region. Old Man Song said in a deep voice. The outside world will not know what happened in the dark sacred region. Before the other people from the dark forces step into this place, you are safe. Yiqing Luo tried her best to maintain her consciousness. After hearing Old Man Song's words, she responded softly. Indeed, if she left the dark sacred region in this state, it was equivalent to sending a lamb into the tiger's mouth. With the help of the glower flame fan, Yiqing Luo walked to a rather clean corner. She crossed her legs and sat on the ground, slowly closing her eyes. Yiqing Luo used the last of her energy to withdraw her consciousness and entered the Azure Dew Bracelet. The glower flame fan's airflow wrapped around her completely, forming a protective cover. Time went by minute. A jaw stick's time had passed. Yiqing Luo maintained her original position. 1 hour had passed. The glower flame fan's energy was also being depleted, and the protective cover was gradually fading. Just at this moment, Outside the open palace door, a figure silently walked in. A beautiful woman in a jade-colored dress frowned when she saw the blood-stained ground of the holy region and the mess it was in. The air was filled with the stench of blood, making her nauseous. The lady covered her nose, as her eyes were filled with disgust. Her gaze swept across the sacred region. In the end, it landed on the girl in the corner, surrounded by countless whirlpools of air. A trace of malevolence and distortion appeared on that gentle and beautiful face. Yiqing Luo. She didn't die. How could she not die in a place like the Dark Sanctuary? Wasn't the King of Darkness consciousness and strength still around? Even the King of Darkness couldn't kill Yiqing Luo? The expression on the woman's face became even more ferocious. Hatred and jealousy slowly appeared on his face. Her slender fingers curled up one by one, and intense hatred shot out from the bottom of her eyes. The lady lifted her feet and slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Fresh blood dyed her green embroidered shoes red. The blood that was supposed to make a woman feel nauseous now stained her skirt. At this moment, the woman was completely unfazed. All the attention was concentrated on Yiqing Luo. Finally, the lady stopped in front of Yiqing Luo. That attacking red airflow suddenly moved, wrapping Yiqing Luo's entire person up tightly. The lady squinted her sinister beautiful eyes, as her lips curled into a cold smile. So anxious to protect your master, in other words. The current Yiqing Luo has no ability to protect herself? The melodious voice was extremely pleasant to listen to. Chapter 17:18. The red airflow was like a fire dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Suddenly, it attacked towards the lady's direction. The lady's beautiful eyes turned cold as her beautiful face was filled with malevolence and viciousness. She waved her sleeves, and a thick, profound energy, which was like a torrential jade water, split the airflow apart. The glower flame fan had used up all its energy to protect its owner, without the supply of profound chi from its owner. It was collided with the lady's ferocious attack. That flowing airflow collided with that jade-colored profound light. A boom sound was heard. The glower flame fan flipped in midair and landed beside Yiqing Luo. The airflow faintly appeared. Finally, the light dispersed and turned into an ordinary glower flame fan. The lady gave a light snort as she stepped on the glower flame fan. Your brother D's tamed weapon, and you're actually on this slut's side. When she said this, the lady's expression was filled with jealousy. Following that, the lady's beautiful eyes fell onto the young lady who was recuperating. At this moment, the smile on her face became extremely ruthless and cold. Yiqing Luo, you snatched my brother D away. I will absolutely not let you have it easy. As long as you're dead, brother D will forever be mine. The lady laughed maniacally. She raised her palm and condensed a jade-colored profound light, which shot up to the sky. A palm strike landed on Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo, who was still recuperating, was shaken by this sudden attack until her consciousness trembled. Her body flew out horizontally as she crashed onto the wall. She spat out a mouthful of blood as she speedily withdrew her consciousness from the azure dew bracelet. Her consciousness left her body and suffered an attack while she was recuperating. To a cultivator, this was a fatal injury. Luckily, Yiqing Luo's consciousness left her body and was in the azure dew bracelet. With the protection of the azure dew bracelet, her consciousness wasn't injured. Yiqing Luo clutched her chest as she looked up at the person who attacked her. A jade-green figure came into view. Her long, flowing hair was tied with a jade-colored ribbon. Her brows creased. Feng Ling, why are you here? Feng Ling actually appeared in the dark sacred region? Wen Chime had already colluded with the King of Darkness? Naturally it was Brother D who told me. Feng Ling smiled gently. The malevolence on her face had already faded when Yiqing Luo woke up. Xian. Yiqing Luo frowned as her eyes were filled with suspicion. You used the Netherworld Phoenix ring to inform Brother D of your whereabouts. Feng Ling seemed to have expected that she would not believe her. She smiled faintly and explained, "This is such a dangerous place. As the palace master of the Imperial Palace, Brother D will definitely not come personally, so, let me take a look." She giggled, and her eyes were filled with pride. I thought you were really important to Brother D, but in the end, you're nothing more than this. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. She said nothing. However, the fingers that were gripping his collar gradually tightened. This detail naturally did not escape Fengling's eyes. The smile on her face became more and more complacent. Brother D obviously knows that I hate you so much, but still asked me to come over to save you. Tell me, Brother D really wants me to save you, or to kill you? She smiled. Her posture was elegant and extremely gentle, especially that jade-colored ribbon in her hair, which floated slightly. It highlighted Fengling's beauty. Yiqing Luo's breathing tightened. After the battle with the King of Darkness, her body was already overloaded. While she was recuperating, she suffered Fengling's attack, which caused her to be injured on top of her previous injuries. Chapter 17:19. Yiqing Luo didn't speak for a long time. In Fengling's eyes, it meant that her body and mind were heavily injured and she was grieving. Hence, wind chimes smiled smugly like a blooming chrysanthemum. Do you feel sad, upset, and in despair? Her steps were light as she walked towards Yiqing Luo. Do you really think Brother D loves you that much? He's only after this special body of yours. The woman smiled gently and calmly, but the ruthlessness in her eyes could not be concealed. The disciples of the Imperial Palace should be rushing over to save you. Fengling smiled again. But I don't want you to live. What should I do? Yiqing Luo remained silent. Those eyes that were as calm as still water did not have the slightest bit of emotion. If one person was showing off, mocking, stabbing a knife into the other person's heart, that person didn't speak for a long time. At first, one could think that she was grieving so much that she couldn't speak. However, if it was someone who was trying to show off, even if they chattered on and on, the other party wouldn't even have an expression on their face. It felt like he had punched a pile of cotton. Fengling's eyes were filled with anger. She stretched out her hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's collar, lifting her up from the ground. Slut! Do you think that I'm lying? I'll kill you now and see if Brother D will come and save you. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Wendling's actions were extremely crude. The wounds on her body were throbbing in pain. Fengling lowered her head, and her gaze fell on Yiqing Luo's chest, the wound that could fit a hand. A trace of treacherous ruthlessness flashed across her beautiful eyes. Big Brother D is also very interested in your profound heart, Jade. Before I kill you, I'll give it to Big Brother D. Big Brother D will definitely be very happy. Fengling smiled charmingly. His hand also stretched out towards Yiqing Luo's chest. Just as Fengling's hand was about to touch Yiqing Luo's wound, her pink lips moved, and a slightly hoarse voice suddenly rang out. He won't come to save me? Wendling's hand stopped moving. A hint of joy and pride flashed across his eyes. Yes, he won't come to save you. After getting a response, Wendling retracted her hand. She didn't intend to kill Yiqing Luo like this. She wanted Yiqing Luo to taste the agony, to taste the despair of not being able to get what she wanted. He's the palace master of the Imperial Palace, the most honorable existence in the entire Nirvana realm. Why would he risk his life to save an insignificant woman like you? Fengling smiled. However, Brother D treats you quite well. At least he arranged for the Emperor Palace's disciples to save you. He also asked me to come and see if you're dead. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. The expression on his face was somewhat gloomy. Looking at the changes in Yiqing Luo's expression, Fengling continued to smile contentedly. Yiqing Luo, don't think too highly of yourself. Brother D doesn't need a useless woman by his side. You're just a chess piece that can be discarded anytime. I don't believe it. Yiqing Luo's breathing was trembling, and her voice was also trembling. Her charming eyes blinked weakly. Fengling was so pleased with herself that she didn't notice the sneer in Yiqing Luo's eyes. What has it got to do with me whether you believe it or not? Fengling threw her heavily onto the ground. Yiqing Luo, you're so smart, so you should have sensed it. If it wasn't for Brother D telling me you're here, how would I be able to find traces of the dark sacred region? You know everything. You just don't dare to believe it. Chapter 17:20. But I think the one who is more pitiful is you. The clear voice was sweet and pleasant to the ears. The young girl, who had a pained expression on her face, suddenly raised her lips and smiled brightly. Feng Ling's smile froze on her face. A look of astonishment appeared on her beautiful face. What did you say? Feng Ling asked incredulously. Shouldn't Yiqing Luo be devastated and in despair? Why? Could she still smile so sweetly and dazzlingly? Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes fluttered slightly as her lips bloomed into a smile, elegant and noble. I say, Feng Ling, you are the most pitiful person. Yiqing Luo chuckled as she repeated what she said earlier. She leaned against the wall and sat on the ground. She raised her head and smiled at Feng Ling. Feng Ling's expression turned gloomy as her petite body swayed. Just as she was about to open her mouth, her belly full of resentment, upon meeting Yiqing Luo's smiling eyes, was choked in her throat. Obviously, Yiqing Luo was looking up at her. Obviously, Yiqing Luo was in a sorry state. But Yiqing Luo's arrogance easily suppressed everything of hers. You are smart to use half-truths to provoke the relationship between Xian and me. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly, as if it was covered with a layer of frost. That smile was extremely chilly. You don't believe me? Feng Ling clutched her green sleeves tightly. Yiqing Luo smiled. Between you and Xian, there is no suspense. I choose to believe Xian. Feng Ling's move was indeed well calculated. If Feng Ling had told her right from the start that DMO Xian didn't love her, and was using her, or even asking Feng Ling to kill her or something like that, even if she thought with her toes, she would know that these words were 100% fake. But Feng Ling's words were half-truths. She created that DMO Xian indeed cared about her, just not as much as she imagined. She created that DMO Xian was a fickle man. If Feng Ling's target was another person, perhaps she would really be fooled. Unfortunately, Feng Ling didn't understand Yiqing Luo's character. Once Yiqing Luo confirmed that DMO Xian was the man she depended on for life. Unless DMO Xian dumped her in front of her. Otherwise, no matter when, no matter what environment, she would wholeheartedly trust DMO Xian. Feng Ling obviously didn't expect that her words were totally unable to move Yiqing Luo's heartstrings. Yiqing Luo really trusted DMO Xian that much? Then why did Yiqing Luo pretend to remain silent right from the start, pretending to have suffered a blow? Suddenly, Feng Ling's ruthless beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. You are stalling for time. Feng Ling finally understood. Yiqing Luo didn't have any battle power at all. If she appeared, Yiqing Luo would definitely die. Yiqing Luo had been dragging the time, waiting for DMO Xian to rush over to save her. Feng Ling's fingers turned into sharp claws. The expression on her face suddenly became ferocious and terrifying. I will not do as you wish. I'll kill you right now. Let's see if you die first or if Brother D rushes to save you first. Azure profound light gathered in his palm. She fiercely slapped Yiqing Luo's head. However, Yiqing Luo didn't reveal a terrified expression like what she had imagined. On the contrary, Yiqing Luo laughed. Her smile was extremely devilish and enchanting. Her charming eyes were flowing with a dazzling luster, sparkling brightly. The light blinded Feng Ling's eyes. Chapter 1721. Feng Ling's heart suddenly trembled as she revealed an astonished look. The next moment, a huge gust of air rushed in from the open palace door. Boom, boom, boom. Several loud bangs were heard as the dark sacred region was in turmoil. The blood-stained ground was densely covered with numerous fine cracks. A terrifying and strange aura filled the entire sacred region's sky. A purple figure followed that terrifying aura as he speedily entered the sacred region. His purple robe billowed as his sleeves fluttered. As the man walked over, numerous streams of airflow rose from his feet. Powerful profound qi, which seemed as though it could swallow everything in the world, started to spread around him. His speed was extremely fast. So fast that the naked eye was unable to capture it. Ah! A sharp miserable shriek was heard. Before Feng Ling could react, her body had already flown horizontally as she fell heavily onto the ground. Her entire being was submerged in that blood pool, instantly drowned in the blood water. Liluoer. Dmo Xian's hoarse voice was filled with pain. He flew up and pulled Yiqing Luo into his arms. The young lady in his arms was on the verge of death. Her breathing was so light and so slow. A patch of red stung his eyes. Dmo Xian couldn't tell if this was her own blood, or the blood that had splattered out from the blood pool. Other than that face, Yiqing Luo's entire body looked as though it had been soaked in blood. Fresh blood dripped down drop by drop. Her body hung limply on his body, as though there was no longer any signs of life. Dmo Xian's hand, which was hugging her, started to tremble. His breathing froze as his body started to tremble. Her body was very cold, icy to the bone. Her face was very pale without any color. Lil Luo'er. Lil Luo'er. The man's hoarse voice was filled with pain and frustration. And there was a suppressed sobbing tone. Right. Sobbing tone. The man who had always been high up, who had always been calm and composed, who had always been strong and calm. His tone was actually filled with sobbing tone. Yiqing Luo's heart ached fiercely. She raised her hand with difficulty as her icy cold fingers, which were stained with blood, gently touched his cheek. Her action was very gentle, but it still affected her wound. Perhaps it was because the person who made her feel at ease had arrived. She didn't bother to hide her frown and let out a pitiful cry. It hurts. This cry of pain caused Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes to be tainted with a layer of mist. It caused Windling, who was trying her best to climb out of the blood pool, to fall back into the pool with a splash. Tch. She was indeed a slut. You only know how to act pitiful and seduce Brother D. Windling was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Windling could not be blamed for thinking this way. Just like the battle between Yiqing Luo and King of Darkness. How badly had he been abused? Even his heart was almost dug out. Yiqing Luo didn't even make a sound. Now that she saw Dmo Xian, she cried out in pain with all her might. Ah Xian! Yiqing Luo's voice became softer and softer. Her pink lips opened and closed, but what came out was only air. Dmo Xian's eyes were red and misty like peach blossom eyes. As he carefully looked at the big and small wounds on Yiqing Luo's body, he wanted to explode with rage. He wanted to berate Yiqing Luo for being so willful. She wanted to reprimand Yiqing Luo for acting on her own, causing her to suffer such a serious injury. But seeing her pale face, that pitiful cry of pain, all his anger turned into heartache. His voice was hoarse as he choked. Don't talk anymore, Lil Luo. I'll bring you away from here. Ghost Doctor is already waiting for us. Looking at that peerlessly beautiful face, Yi Zichen was stunned. Chapter 1722. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. I knew you would come. Her voice got softer and softer. Finally, she slowly shut her eyes and fell into a coma. Dmo Xian's heart was throbbing in pain. Lil Luo'er. The feeling of helplessness in his heart felt as though an icy cold hand was strangling his neck. That hand had even reached into his heart. Using that bone-piercing hand, it viciously crushed his heart. He tightened his arms. The person in his arms was as light as a feather. So light that he didn't dare to use too much strength. As though if he used too much strength it would shatter. He trembled as he hugged her. Step by step, he walked towards the entrance of the sacred region. As he walked, he used his profound energy to treat Yiqing Luo's injuries. Brother D. Feng Ling, who had climbed out of the blood pool, immediately chased after him. But she was not able to get close in time. A burst of profound qi charged straight at her. Feng Ling narrowly avoided that burst of profound qi, but her shoulder was still cut by the remnant aura. Feng Ling was in pain as she held her shoulder as her face turned pale. She knew that Dmo Xian did not kill her. This was only a warning to her. But Dmo Xian's action had expressed his attitude. He had completely hated her. This was a warning to her not to get close to him in future. Feng Ling's heart was in pain. Seeing Dmo Xian leaving without hesitation, he didn't even turn back to look at her. Feng Ling clutched her wet sleeves tightly as she pursed her lips and cried out. Brother D. I have a way to save her. Only I can save her. Her words successfully made Dmo Xian stop in his tracks. Feng Ling's eyes lit up as she stumbled over. A pair of tearful beautiful eyes looked at Dmo Xian in a daze. Brother D. I really didn't do it on purpose. Believe me, I really didn't want to kill her. I was just blinded by greed. Feng Ling was crying as she leaned towards Dmo Xian. Her body had yet to get close. Dmo Xian's cold eyes glanced at her. The chilly intent in his eyes stopped Feng Ling's thoughts of getting closer. What way? Dmo Xian's voice was like frost. Feng Ling's delicate body trembled, and her eyes became misty. Brother D, do you really have the heart to do this to me? I was really possessed just now. I've loved you for so many years. Not waiting for her to finish. Dmo Xian directly turned around and walked out of the sacred region palace. He did not show any respect to wind chimes. Windling staggered a few steps back. Her heart ached so much that it could not be any more painful. He left so decisively. There was no hesitation at all. Did he really hate her that much? So hateful that he felt annoyed just by looking at her? A layer of madness and ruthlessness gradually appeared in Feng Ling's eyes. Her slender fingers were clenched into fists. She looked at the man, who had already walked out of the palace. She took a deep breath. Big Brother D, you should also know that that woman's profound heart jade is different from our profound heart jade. With her strength, she is simply unable to control that profound heart jade. Windling stood where she was, and did not chase after her. Her voice had also regained its usual gentleness and elegance. She didn't have to chase after him, since Big Brother D loved that woman so much. Then let Big Brother D take the initiative to return to her side for that woman. As long as Big Brother D was by her side, even if he didn't love her, she didn't care. The infatuation in Windling's eyes continued to spread. Chapter 1723. He did not look back. Feng Ling knew that Brother D was waiting for her to continue. Feng Ling didn't keep him in suspense anymore, and continued. Her profound heart jade was sealed with a trace of profound Yin energy by the dark forces using a dark secret history, causing her to be devoured by the profound Yin energy once she uses the power of the profound heart jade. Feng Ling paused and slowly walked towards Dmo Xian. Brother D has always been by her side, so you should know about this matter. Dmo Xian did not answer, but he hugged Yiqing Luo tightly as he turned around, and his icy cold eyes looked at her. Although his eyes were cold, she was still reflected in his eyes. Windling smiled. As long as he could see her, she was satisfied. If I'm not wrong, the wound on her chest should be the result of the King of Darkness forcefully digging out her profound heart jade and taking it for himself. Moreover, her profound heart jade has clearly been dug out. Feng Ling raised her finger and pointed at Yiqing Luo's chest. Drops of blood were still dripping from his blood-stained fingers. Dmo Xian lowered his head as his vision pierced through the fist-sized wound on Yiqing Luo's chest. A beating heart could be vaguely seen between the bones and flesh. Above his heart was a profound jade heart that was flickering with a brilliant purple light. Following the beating of his heart, it slightly swayed. Indeed, the profound heart jade had traces of movement. Did the King of Darkness dig out her profound heart jade? Even if you had people treat her external injuries and treat her internal injuries, but her profound jade heart was still damaged in the end. Her heart was also damaged. Feng Ling saw that Dmo Xian did not speak for a long time, and she understood that Dmo Xian had tacitly agreed to her words. Otherwise, with Dmo Xian's character, he would just turn around and leave. Thinking like this, Feng Ling became even more confident in her heart. I have a way to suppress the power of her profound jade heart, and can repair the abnormal movements of her profound jade heart. Condition. Dmo Xian finally opened his mouth, and it was just two simple words. Windling covered the spot where her heart was, and felt a sharp pain coming from her heart. She let out a low laugh. The more he laughed, the more his eyes became dry and the more it hurt. In the end, she and Dmo Xian had still walked to this step. In the past, no matter how cold he was towards her, he at least had some warmth towards her. But now in his eyes, he was no different from a stranger. Cold words and a gaze devoid of warmth. All of this was because of that woman. And now, she had to save that woman in order to gain Brother D's attention. How indignant. Feng Ling's resentful gaze made Dmo Xian's eyes sink. His ink-like peach blossom eyes were stained with coldness. What conditions do you want? Meeting Dmo Xian's gaze. Fengling's heart skipped a beat. The coldness in his eyes chilled her heart as well. Wenbling took a deep breath, maintaining her usual gentleness and elegance on her face. I wanted to tell you when we were in the flame lair. At that time, I really just wanted to tell you the method I know. But Dmo Xian made Tang Beiyuan send her back to the imperial palace like a criminal. Who is she? The granddaughter of the imperial palace's granny. The future mistress of the imperial palace. How could she be controlled by others? How could she allow Tang Beiyuan to send her back? Fengling raised her head and looked at Dmo Xian faintly. Since you said I want conditions, then I have conditions. Speak. Dmo Xian didn't want to waste a single word with her. Fengling's lips curled upwards as her smile became even more gentle. The heart-calming bead that Granny gave me can maintain and stabilize Yiqing Luo's profound jade heart, and also stabilize her advancement speed, so that she won't be devoured by the profound jade heart. Chapter 1724. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly. You want this lord to grant you the position of mistress? Fengling clutched her robes tightly as she forcefully endured Dmo Xian's oppressive might and nodded. Yes, I want you to marry me and be with me then. With her, never to meet again. Dmo Xian sneered as he gave a derisive laugh. On what basis do you think this lord will agree to your unreasonable request? On the basis that you care about her. Fengling wasn't willing to admit this matter, but she could only use this matter as the capital to threaten Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's voice paused as he had no words to refute. You care about Yiqing Luo, so this request to you isn't unreasonable. Fengling eased her tone. Brother D, I understand you too well. Dmo Xian lowered his eyes as he looked at the person in his arms. At that moment, Fengling could obviously feel that Dmo Xian's entire aura had turned gentle. The gaze he used to look at Yiqing Luo was so lingering and so gentle. This scene pulled at Fengling's heart. Her petite body trembled slightly as she clenched her fists tightly, forcing herself not to care about it. Dmo Xian's icy voice rang beside her ears. Since you know this lord cares about Lil Luo, then this lord will not agree to this request. He tightened his arms as he turned around and took a step forward. His voice continued to be heard. Fengling, Granny in the flame nest laid a hand on Lil Luo. This lord has given the both of you a way out, which is considered as this lord repaying Granny's nurturing grace. This time, you laid a hand on Lil Luo. This lord will not let it go easily. That menacing tone made Fengling feel weak and powerless. She fell on the bloody ground. He really intended to disregard their many years of friendship. Really? Going to lay a hand on the both of them? The man she had fallen in love with. He was really cold-hearted. So cold that he could lay a hand on them who had been together for more than 10 years, just for a woman. Just as Dmo Xian had left for less than half an incense's time. Dark Sacred Region's palace entrance was suddenly shrouded in a thick black fog. This fog, as compared to the profound Yin Qi, was even more terrifying and terrifying. Fengling, who was sitting on the ground in a daze, revealed a panicky and terrified expression when she sensed the black fog. Shivering, she quickly got up from the ground and ran to the door. As soon as he arrived at the palace gate, he knelt down with a thud. My lord, why are you here? Her trembling voice could not hide the fear in Wind Chime's heart. Wind Chimes did not dare to raise her head. It was as if a huge hole had been torn open in the thick black smoke, and two figures gradually appeared. Thick black smoke shrouded the figure. His entire body was shrouded in a long black robe, revealing only a pair of eerie eyes. Poochie. A light laugh came from the mouth of one of the black-robed men. Judging from the voice, it was a woman. There was a hint of tenderness in her laughter. Lowly person, I asked you to do something for me. Why did you make yourself look like this? Fengling's delicate body stiffened, and her voice trembled as she replied. What does it look like? With a thud, a bronze mirror rolled to Fengling's side. Didn't His Excellency ask you to use your beauty to seduce your sweetheart to give the tranquility pearl away? The woman smiled tenderly, and her eerie eyes were filled with ridicule. just based on your looks, and you still want to give the tranquility pearl away? Feng Ling hurriedly grabbed the bronze mirror. When she saw the person in the bronze mirror, Feng Ling screamed and threw the bronze mirror in her hands away. Chapter 1725. Feng Ling hugged her head and desperately let out a shrill scream. She was actually covered in blood. On her head, face, clothes. It was all sticky blood. Her face was red, her entire body was red. There wasn't a single part of her that was unscathed. She looked like a corpse bathed in blood. It was disgusting no matter how one looked at it. It was horrifying no matter how one looked at it. Feng Ling recalled. When Dmo Xian rushed over to the dark sacred region, she was sent flying by Dmo Xian's profound qi, and fell into the blood pool. After that, her attention was placed on Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo, because she was jealous of Yiqing Luo. She had totally forgotten about the matter of her falling into the blood pool. Earlier she had been using this look to negotiate with Dmo Xian. Earlier she used this look to enter Dmo Xian's vision. She had been maintaining her smile, maintaining her noble elegance, maintaining her gentle and virtuous demeanor. But her face was covered in blood. Who could see her smile clearly? Her noble elegance? Her gentle demeanor? Ah! Feng Ling hugged her head as she screamed crazily. The gentle image which she had been portraying in front of Dmo Xian was totally destroyed today. What are you screaming for? What's there to scream for? The lady's delicate voice revealed some impatience. I think, even if you look like this, Dmo Xian, that fellow, has no reaction at all. Feng Ling's scream stopped. That's right. Dmo Xian had no reaction at all. He looked at her covered in blood, and in such a sorry state. Even his gaze didn't change, even though there was her reflection in his eyes. But she could never walk into his heart. She was so ugly that Dmo Xian wouldn't give her any reaction at all. Lowly person, you can't even complete the task given to you. How dare you not listen when I speak to you? The lady laughed sinisterly. Following her sinister laughter, Feng Ling's body, which was covered in blood, was sent flying. Feng Ling crashed onto the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body twitched in pain as she regained her senses from the pain she had suffered from Dmo Xian. A useless piece of trash. Just kill him. The woman narrowed her eerie eyes impatiently. Just as Xiao Chun was about to make a move, the black-clad man beside him, who had been silent all this time, said in a low voice, "He will come looking for you again. You have to give him the heart-setting pearl." It was obvious who he was referring to. This voice was a strange voice that had obviously used profound energy to change its tone. It wasn't hard to tell that it was a man's voice. The moment the man opened his mouth, Feng Ling's trembling body started to tremble even more in fear. She trembled and kowtowed hard on the ground. Yes, I will definitely send the tranquility bead out. I will not let him have any doubts. If someone was present at this moment, they would definitely feel that this scene was extremely comical and strange. In the Nirvana realm, the imperial palace could be considered as the supreme ruler. The existence of the imperial palace surpassed the existence of the 4 legendary sects of the 4 continents. Feng Ling was the granddaughter of the imperial palace's granny, and she was famous in Jianghu. He had a strong background and was extremely talented. Wendling was never afraid of anyone. She could practically do whatever she wanted in the Nirvana realm. But in front of these 2 mysterious black-robed men, she didn't even dare to let out a fart. Main Academy Dormitory, Sky Dormitory 1. Boom boom boom. Bang bang bang. A few deafening collision sounds were heard, followed by a wave of tremors that shook the mountains. Chapter 1726. The students saw a huge white 9-tailed fox descending from the sky. The 9-tailed fox landed on the ground, and its 4 huge claws stirred up numerous airflow. Sky Level 1's ground was embedded with 4 deep pits. 9 white tails smashed heavily on the ground. It's the sacred beast 9-tailed fox. The Overlord is back. Overlord? Is Madame Qing Luo back too? Madame Qing Luo. Madame Qing Luo. Numerous devil classes students revealed a joyous expression the minute they saw the nine-tailed fox. All of them rushed forward, wanting to know their own boss's situation at the first instance. But before the students could even get close, however, it was blocked by an invisible airflow. A purple figure leapt down from the nine-tailed fox's back. In his arms was a young lady wrapped in a purple robe. Wasn't that their boss? Their boss was carried back by the overlord? Their boss was injured? And it wasn't a light injury? This thought made devil classes students' hearts suddenly twitch fiercely, as though it was pierced by numerous silver needles. All the students turned silent. None of them dared to go up to ask. Each and every one of them carefully and quietly followed behind Dmo Xian. They knew that the overlord cared more about Madame Qing Luo than they did. The overlord's mood was even heavier than theirs. They followed Dmo Xian all the way to Yi Qing Luo's room. Just as Dmo Xian wanted to use his profound qi to split open that tightly shut door, Long Yunjian speedily went up and pushed the door open. At the same time, they saw a figure dressed in a gold ingot robe dragging another person dressed in a white robe as they took a step forward and barged into the room. Devil classes students were stunned as they prepared to take action to protect their own boss. But after they saw the two of them clearly, they heaved a sigh of relief. God Thief and Sir Ghost Doctor. Ghost Doctor was here. Their boss was saved. Dmo Xian's footsteps didn't stop, nor was there any signs of surprise. Apparently, he was the one who found these two people in advance. Dmo Xian placed Yi Qing Luo on the bed with a grave expression. Ghost Doctor, I have already done a simple treatment for her, but it can only stop her bleeding and prevent the wound from getting infected. Ghost Doctor's face was gloomy as he didn't say a word. He only took quick steps to the bedside. When Yi Qing Luo's purple robe was lifted, the devil class students all cried out in shock. There were a few female students whose eyes turned red as they called out Yi Qing Luo's name softly. Their Madame Qing Luo was covered in blood. His green and white uniform was dyed red by the blood. What exactly did she go through? Was that why he was injured like this? What's the matter? Ghost Doctor roughly scanned through Yi Qing Luo's injuries, as his face revealed a sliver of anger. Holy Pirate sucked in a cold breath. How could you be injured like this? Even they had never suffered such a serious injury. She alone sealed the Dark Forces King of Darkness back in the Dark Sanctuary. Dmo Xian's voice was extremely cold. His voice was tense, as if he was enduring a storm. This little girl is too reckless. When Holy Pirate heard this, he almost jumped up. Suddenly, the sound of chaotic footsteps came from the door of the room. The General Courtyard's president walked into the room in quick steps. Overlord, earlier you said the Dark Forces King of Darkness had been sealed? His words had just ended when an extremely chilly gaze suddenly fell onto him. Chapter 1727. The elder standing by the side took a careful look at Dmo Xian and immediately asked, Overlord, has student Yi Qing Luo really sealed the King of Darkness? Just as he finished his words, Dmo Xian's arrogance had obviously subsided by quite a bit. Following closely behind the principal were the various academies' elders and elders, as well as numerous students. After all, the nine-tailed fox had created such a huge commotion and instantly attracted everyone's attention. When everyone rushed over, they heard the elders' question. Everyone was shocked. King of Darkness? After the Dark Force's huge actions in the Blaze Nest. Basically, everyone present knew about the Dark Coalition. Naturally, they also vaguely knew about the King of Darkness who looked down on the world and wanted to conquer Nirvana Realm, and even the Upper Realm. After that, the King of Darkness was sealed in the Dark Sacred Region by the Upper Realm. The King of Darkness had been thinking of ways to remove the Sacred Region's seal. This was the reason why the Dark Forces kept on collecting young cultivators' souls. When they heard that Yi Qing Luo actually sealed the King of Darkness, everyone's first reaction was disbelief. Yi Qing Luo was just a 15-year-old young lady. No matter how heaven-defying her innate talent was, it was absolutely not comparable to the old devil from 10,000 years ago. But Dmo Xian's suppressed voice was heard from the room. Are you doubting me? The elder shuddered. Knowing that Dmo Xian's mood was definitely not good because of Yi Qing Luo's injury, he immediately knelt on the ground with a plop. "D Overlord, we don't dare." The principal immediately understood why Dmo Xian's pressure suddenly soared. Because, when he said that he had sealed the King of Darkness, he totally didn't express any concern for Yi Qing Luo, and also linked the credit of the King of Darkness being sealed to Yi Qing Luo. The principal had yet to open his mouth to salvage the situation. Yun Xiang, who was standing beside the Heavenly Academy, couldn't hold it in any longer. "Overlord, we naturally don't dare to doubt your words, but Yi Qing Luo is just a cultivator who had just stepped into Earth Profound Realm. No matter how strong her innate talent is, she's still a child. How could it be possible?" He didn't finish his words, but the meaning behind his words was already clear. Indeed, they didn't dare to doubt the Overlord's words. But the Overlord insisted that the King of Darkness was sealed by Yi Qing Luo. 90% of the people present wouldn't believe it. Perhaps it was Di Zun who had destroyed the dark forces, then pushed the credit to Yi Qing Luo? No one dared to speak, but they all silently agreed with Yin Xiang's words. Dmo Xian raised his frosty peach blossom eyes, and that gaze seemed to be condensed with 10,000 layers of ice, freezing everything in this world. The cold air pressure seemed to freeze the air. Everyone could not help but feel nervous. Just when everyone thought that Dmo Xian was going to fly into a rage. However, Dmo Xian shifted his line of sight and looked towards the bed, at the pale-faced and unconscious young lady. His ribs are broken, and his body is covered with wounds of various sizes. The residual mysterious yin qi needs to be removed in time. Affected by the soul-assimilating curse, soul damage, his profound heart jade was almost dug out. There's a lot of blood. His profound heart jade has loosened, and his heart is affected. Word by word, he described Yi Qing Luo's injuries extremely clearly. Listening, it seemed as though she was telling Ghost Doctor about Yi Qing Luo's mother's condition. Chapter 1728. Dmo Xian's voice was extremely calm, but under that calmness, there was a storm that caused people's hearts to tremble. When the crowd heard that, their hearts trembled. They also understood Dmo Xian's meaning. The Overlord was feeling indignant for his beloved lady, for Nirvana Realm, for the various academies. Yi Qing Luo risked her life alone. In the end, she almost lost her life and came back riddled with injuries. As for the various academies, there wasn't even a single word of concern. All they could think about was whether the dark forces were really destroyed. Hearing Dmo Xian listing out the injuries on Yi Qing Luo's body, word by word, every time he said a part, the crowd's heart would twitch faintly. Not long later, the female students' soft whimpers were heard from the surroundings. The various academies' directors and elders looked at each other in dismay. Their hearts were filled with admiration for this 15-year-old young lady. But they still couldn't believe that a 15-year-old youngster was able to reseal the King of Darkness, who looked down on the world 10,000 years ago. One must know that 10,000 years ago, it was the people from the upper realm who came down and barely managed to seal the King of Darkness. Even now, the King of Darkness was still sealed in the sacred region. Even if the King of Darkness's consciousness was left in this world, it could easily exterminate Yi Qing Luo. Otherwise, why would the people from the dark forces be so obedient, going around looking for young cultivator's soul as food for the King of Darkness to break the seal? Student Yi Qing Luo has a strong presence of the King of Darkness. Suddenly, a steady voice was heard from the door. Following that, a young man dressed in a black robe walked in with an air of seniority. Beside him, there was an evil-looking young man dressed in white robe. The moment they saw them, the various academies immediately opened up a path and greeted respectfully. Master Gui Wu. Instructor Zoemo, Gui Wu walked directly into the spacious room. The entire room was filled with devil classes students, and a few people from the headquarters. Gui Wu frowned as his vision fell onto Yi Qing Luo, who was covered in blood. The King of Darkness consciousness was indeed sealed by her. Gui Wu's pupils contracted slightly as he stared at Yi Qing Luo. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions. This classmate can create countless miracles. If it's her. If you say that she can ascend to the upper realm in the future, I will also believe it. These words caused 10,000 ripples on the surface of the ocean. Who was Gui Wu? Gui Wu was a famous martial arts fanatic. His strength was unfathomable. His martial prowess was unparalleled. More importantly, the profound practitioners who had been judged by him had never been wrong. He said that young profound practitioners were dragons and phoenixes among men. That person would definitely become a respectable high-level profound practitioner in the future. He said that young profound practitioners only had talent and would never amount to anything in the future. That person would definitely become the lowest slave in the future. Even if the person who was judged as a failure had a strong background, none of them could escape Gui Wu's prophecy. Of course, this prophecy was only based on Gui Wu's several days of guiding the profound practitioners in their training, as well as their innate talent. There was a rumor in the Nirvana realm. Some people didn't believe in heresy and purposely nurtured people who were judged as useless. But no matter how they nurtured them, in the end, it still proved Gui Wu's prophecy. Gradually, Gui Wu's prophecy towards the profound practitioners became the mouth of a god. This was also the reason why the various academies who were participating in the exchange were so excited when they heard that Master Gui Wu would be coming to train the students. Everyone hoped to get a sentence from Gui Wu. But now, Gui Wu actually had such a high evaluation towards a 15-year-old young lady. Chapter 1729. With Ghost Marshall's appearance, everyone believed more than half of it. After that, Ghost Doctor, who had been silently administering acupuncture for Yi Qing Luo's injuries, spoke in an icy cold voice, suppressing a thick anger. This last had forcefully broken through the dark incantation soul-absorbing incantation, and the damage to her soul is rather huge. F***K. Ghost Doctor, don't scare me. I only have this one sugar daddy, and I'm counting on her to support me for the rest of my life. You have to cure my lass. When God Thief heard that, he wailed anxiously. When the surrounding crowd heard the two words Ghost Doctor, all of them shuddered. Ghost Doctor? That ghost hand doctor? Able to turn a dead person into a living person. Able to turn a handicapped person into a healthy person. Able to turn trash into a genius. The various academies' directors present were even more shocked by this name. One must know that they had expended so much effort to search for this ghost hand doctor, just to invite him to enter their academy. But this ghost doctor finally entered Heavenly Academy and became their alchemist. They had not expected. They actually met Ghost Doctor here. Hearing Ghost Doctor's words, everyone completely believed in DM Ocean's words. At this moment, everyone's vision fell onto God Thief. This old man, dressed like a nouveau riche. But they all remembered that Ghost Doctor was with him, holding hands as they rushed to Yi Qing Luo's room. This showed the relationship between the two of them. It showed that this nouveau riche old man's status was definitely not low. After that, this nouveau riche old man treated Yi Qing Luo as his sugar daddy, and even supported him for the rest of his life. What identity did Yi Qing Luo have? The people around him were all King big shots. Moreover, look at Ghost Doctor. When he was treating Yi Qing Luo, he was so serious, and his eyes were filled with worry. It showed that Ghost Doctor was extremely concerned about Yi Qing Luo. One must know that it was rumored that Ghost Doctor was someone who was especially afraid of trouble, and he only knew how to refine pills continuously. Towards things like treating illnesses and injuries, he had no interest at all. It was also rumored that when Heavenly Dean met with an ambush and almost lost his life, he begged Ghost Doctor to save him, but Ghost Doctor used the excuse of disturbing him while he was refining pills and directly kicked him out. But now, this Ghost Doctor who was afraid of trouble came all the way from West Continent to South Continent, trying his best to treat Yi Qing Luo. This Yi Qing Luo. It was simply too astonishing. Taking another look at the group of people surrounding Yi Qing Luo, which one of them was not a dragon or phoenix among men? Which one of them was not the center of attention? Which one of them was not of noble status? Some people in the venue expressed their agreement. The amount of information they had received today was too much, too much. It was also at this moment that everyone remembered the name of the hero who saved the students of the various academies and sealed the remaining consciousness of the King of Darkness. Night. Qing. Fall. A 15-year-old girl. He used to be the young master of the Three Springs sect and was famous in the Nirvana realm with his useless body. At the mention of it, it was a mocking sneer. Now that she had been reborn, her strength had once again become famous. When mentioned, there were many praises and respect. The treatment lasted for 3 days. Those people from various academies, after admiring Yi Qing Luo from the bottom of their hearts, were chased back by Dmo Xian Kuli. The students of Devil class were also chased out of the room. Only a few were left who could help. Yi Qing Luo remained unconscious for 3 days. Dmo Xian accompanied her for 3 days, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping or resting. Ghost Doctor had been helping Yi Qing Luo to stabilize her soul in these 3 days, treating the complicated wounds on her body. Chapter 1730. God Thief immediately supported Ghost Doctor. How is it? Is that lass all right? Ghost Doctor waved his hand weakly. Under God Thief's support, he sat on a soft chair by the side. Everyone's gazes in the room all turned towards Ghost Doctor. Yen Xiaoyi brought a cup of tea and passed it to Ghost Doctor. Ghost Doctor drank a mouthful of tea and slowly raised his eyes. His chilly eyes looked at the dispirited Dmo Xian as his voice was hoarse. Her physique is very shocking. Plus on the way here, you've given her a simple treatment. The external injuries on her will be completely healed within these few days. After hearing Ghost Doctor's words, the people in the room didn't feel happy at all. Instead, their expressions turned grave. Yi Qing Luo's external injuries weren't the most serious. The most serious was her internal injuries. As expected, at the next instance, Ghost Doctor continued. Her soul suffered a serious injury and her soul was almost absorbed by the soul-assimilating incantation. But luckily this lass's willpower is firm, and she managed to reunite her soul with herself. Looking at everyone's anxious expressions, Ghost Doctor's vision floated towards Yi Qing Luo. Her soul has already been restored, but what? Dmo Xian's brows creased tightly as his tone revealed a sense of urgency. His slender long hand held one of Yi Qing Luo's hand. His fingertips gently caressed the back of her hand. In his heart, he suddenly recalled what Feng Ling told him in the dark sacred region. Ghost Doctor paused after every word. This time when she went against the King of Darkness, her profound jade heart had been depleted too much, and if she's not careful, it would cause the profound jade heart to backfire. This profound jade heart of hers. Ghost Doctor paused as he looked at the surroundings. The people in the room were Ghost Doctor, God Thief, Old Man Guiyu, Dmo Xian, Long Yunzhan, Yen Xiaoyi and a few other devil class students. After ascertaining that there were no outsiders, he then spoke in a deep voice. You should already know about it. Amen. Dmo Xian nodded his head solemnly. This lass's profound jade heart had been corroded by profound yin qi previously. Her profound jade heart has traces of being purified. Dmo Xian nodded his head as he narrated the incident of Yi Qing Luo being controlled and almost losing control in a concise and comprehensive manner. The purification this time should have happened during the battle between this lass and the King of Darkness. Her profound heart jade was forcefully dug out, causing the profound heart jade to release its protective ability on its own. As a result, the profound yin energy within the profound heart jade was purified. This might be the true reason why this lass had the ability to seal the King of Darkness. However, her own strength was unable to withstand the power that the profound heart jade gave her. Over a long period of time, and over a long period of energy consumption, the girl's body would become increasingly unable to bear the burden of the profound jade heart. People with weak willpower would probably be swallowed by the profound jade heart. And for a person like this girl, whose willpower is too firm, and whose profound heart jade also doesn't have the intention to devour its master. This kind of situation will be created. The ghost doctor's explanation made everyone feel a little confused, but Dmo Xian understood. His expression became increasingly grave. Right now, Lil Luo, or what other problems does the profound heart jade have? The problem isn't really a big problem, but according to this last abnormal innate talent, there might be a little problem. Ghost Doctor deliberated over his words as he spoke with some uncertainty. Her profound jade heart had been overdrawn this time, which led to the profound jade heart to have some unusual reaction, and there's a possibility that it might accelerate this last's advancement speed. Isn't accelerating advancement speed a good thing? Yen Xiaoyi asked in astonishment when she heard that. Chapter 1731. Las Luo is after all an ordinary person. No one can become a big fatty in one bite. Ghost Doctor explained patiently. Advancing too quickly is indeed a good thing for cultivators, but Las Luo's innate talent is already extremely strong. Everyone expressed their agreement on this point. Yiqing Luo was simply like a huge abnormality. That speed of advancement was as though it was free of charge. Their eyeballs almost popped out in minutes. Her current innate talent can allow her to advance from Earth Profound Realm to Sky Profound First Grade in a few short days. But now she can advance a grade in a day. Advance a grade in a day? What kind of joke was that? For ordinary people like them, after Earth Profound 5th grade, every grade would take at least 1.5 years. Not to mention Sky Profound Realm. To advance a grade was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Ghost Doctor actually said. Advance a grade in a day? This was 2F** King perverted. She wasn't a human, she was a beast. Yen Xiaoyi and the others clenched their fists as their faces were filled with tears, as they looked at Yiqing Luo, as though they were looking at a beast. Sir Ghost Doctor, what you mean is, advancing a grade in a day, to Qing Luo, is harmful and not beneficial? Long Yunzhan grasped the key point as he asked in a deep voice. The atmosphere instantly turned heavy. Ghost Doctor nodded. Just like what I said earlier, advancing a grade in a day, moreover its Sky Profound Realm's profound grade, to Las Luo's body, it is not able to contain such thick and dense profound qi. After it exceeds the load that her body can take, even if her profound jade heart is not willing to devour its master, it will eventually be suppressed by the dense profound qi, and have no choice but to do so. Everything had to be done step by step. Cultivation was the same. The wonderful thing of ascending to heaven in one step, even if it really happened, would depend on whether one had the ability to enjoy it. The room instantly quietened down. The few of them looked at each other in dismay, as their faces revealed a shocked expression. Then Sir Ghost Doctor, how can we restrain Qing Luo's advancement speed? We can only try our best to restore her profound jade heart. Ghost Doctor shook his head helplessly. This was the first time he had met with such a situation. Divine Phoenix profound jade heart. There was only one piece in this world. He had never thought that possessing such a profound heart jade was sometimes not a good thing. Ghost Doctor. Dmo Xian muttered to himself for a moment as his eyes flashed slightly. This lord has a matter which I wish to discuss with you alone. Everyone was taken aback. But he didn't ask any more questions. These few days, as everyone was worried about Yiqing Luo, they were all busy, and had no way to eat, drink, relieve themselves or sleep peacefully. Now that he had ascertained that Yiqing Luo had basically recovered, other than the condition of that profound jade heart, there were no other major problems. They left the room first. Dmo Xian took a deep look at the young lady who was sleeping soundly on the bed, and slowly released her hand as he walked towards the door. The Ghost Doctor put down her teacup and followed. Holy Pirate and Old Man Gui, you took the prescription from the Ghost Doctor, and went to prepare the medicine. The room that was originally full of people suddenly became empty and quiet. At this moment, the unconscious girl who had been lying on the bed suddenly opened her eyes. Her enchanting eyes glowed with brilliance. There wasn't the slightest bit of turbidity and confusion of a person who had just woken up. She had long woken up under Old Man Song's call the moment Ghost Doctor stopped his acupuncture. Yiqing Luo didn't know Old Man Song's motive for forcefully waking her up. But after she heard the Ghost Doctor's words, she suddenly understood something. Her profound jade heart. Because she had forcefully dug it away, wanting to detonate the profound jade heart and perish together with the King of Darkness. Chapter 1732. This matter he had the right to let her know. Therefore Old Man Song forcibly woke her up. However, Old Man Song sighed heavily. What this old man wants to say is not this. And, not because of the profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo was surprised. But suddenly a white light flashed in front of her. Immediately, she saw a ball of white mist rising up, slowly revealing a figure. The white robe was like white mist, illusory, the white hair and white eyebrows of the old man hazy. There was a bit of a sage-like aura. Yiqing Luo was startled. Old Man Song, you can show your spiritual body? All along, she could only see Old Man Song inside the azure dew bracelet. She remembered that Old Man Song once said, once he could show his spiritual body and leave the azure dew bracelet. Within 100 meters of her, Old Man Song could move freely. He could also help her fight together. It was like having a little helper, and a very powerful helper. In this battle, your body was once again transformed by the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Qi and Qi Yin also fell into a deep sleep, and are about to advance. This old man was naturally affected by the divine phoenix profound heart jade. Old Man Song swayed his spiritual body on Yiqing Luo's head. Since Yiqing Luo fainted, he had been desperately cultivating in the azure dew bracelet. Finally he managed to cultivate his spiritual body. This lass was too easy to mess around. If he didn't cultivate his spiritual body and protect this lass in times of danger, he didn't know how long this lass luck would last. Yiqing Luo didn't expect that this battle actually gave Qi and Qi Yin the opportunity to advance. Even Old Man Song cultivated his spiritual body. It seemed that this injury of hers wasn't in vain. Yes, it's not in vain. Old Man Song rolled his eyes and laughed coldly. This old man wants to see how long you can laugh for. Isn't it just a change in the profound heart jade? One grade a day. I don't believe that I can't conquer my own profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo's slender brows slightly knitted. She also understood the consequences of crazily increasing the grade. But at this point, no matter how worried she was, it was of no use. He might as well make use of this strange movement and fight for his life. He might even be able to conquer the divine phoenix profound heart jade. From then on, he would completely absorb the profound energy brought about by the unusual movement. He thought back to the battle with the King of Darkness. He thought about how even the people of the upper realm coveted his profound heart jade. She couldn't wait to become stronger. She wanted to protect what belonged to her. Furthermore, if this King of Darkness was destroyed, another King of Darkness would appear. The King of Darkness in the Darkness Sanctuary only had 1/10,000th of the King of Darkness's power. Yet she, who had not yet transformed because of the divine phoenix profound heart jade, was almost unable to withstand it. She was even almost forced to perish together with the King of Darkness. She was deeply aware of her own insignificance. She wanted to become stronger. He wanted to become stronger. Yiqing Luo's eyes shot out a resolute radiance. Her slender, scarred fingers clenched into a fist. I believe that you can create a miracle, but after you conquer the divine phoenix profound heart jade, I'm afraid your man will run away. Old Man Song looked at Yiqing Luo's resolute eyes and sighed softly. He knew that Yiqing Luo was a stubborn child who wasn't willing to admit defeat easily. He had long guessed that after Yiqing Luo found out about his profound heart jade's strange movement, she would definitely choose to conquer it, and not think of ways to avoid it. Man! Yiqing Luo frowned. What do you mean? Chapter 1733. Your man is going to run away with another woman soon. Old Man Song floated one round on top of her head as he smacked his lips. If you don't stop him, don't cry to me later. Yiqing Luo's lips curled sinisterly. If he dares to run away with another woman, I will chop off his 3 legs. Old Man Song looked at Yi Qing Luo's strange smile. His eyes revealed a murderous glint as he shivered. Where did the 3 legs come from? Yi Qing Luo sneered. It can only be understood but not explained. As he said that, he let out a meaningful sneer. No matter how stupid a person was, hearing this sentence, and looking at Yi Qing Luo's expression, he could roughly guess what the so-called 3rd leg was referring to. Old Man Song instinctively shrunk his legs as he coughed a few times. Just based on you, you want to chop off the Overlord's legs? Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes at him. He won't run. What if it's for you? Old Man Song looked at her confident look, and couldn't bear to pour cold water on her. But if he didn't pour cold water on her, DMO Xian might really make a decision that he shouldn't have. Yi Qing Luo's smile instantly turned cold as her eyes turned solemn. What do you mean? There's a way to stabilize your profound jade heart. Old Man Song said. Yi Qing Luo's brows twitched as she recalled what they had discussed in the room earlier. When DMO Xian suddenly wanted to have a private chat with Ghost Doctor. She narrowed her eyes. What way? Calming Pearl. Old Man Song said in a deep voice. This is also a god relic. A god relic that can stabilize a cultivator's profound jade heart. Yi Qing Luo muttered softly. Calming Pearl. The effect of the calming pearl is usually to suppress those cultivators who are too anxious to advance, which leads to chi deviation. Old Man Song explained. If the calming pearl is in your hands, your profound jade heart will be stabilized and suppressed to a similar level as your own profound energy. So, someone used the calming pearl to make a deal with Xian? Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed a sly glint. Old Man Song choked on his words. Yes. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as her pink lips curled into a sneer. The person with the tranquil bead, is it Feng Ling? The corner of Old Man Song's mouth twitched. He still hadn't said anything. Couldn't he have some meaning to his existence? Did he say it without any suspense? So easy to guess? Yi Qing Luo could tell what Old Man Song was thinking and laughed lightly. Before I fainted, other than Xian, the only person I saw was Feng Ling. Yi Qing Luo looked at her body, which was wrapped up like a mummy. With my injuries like this, Xian must have stayed by my side for the past few days. It's impossible for him to see anyone else. So, aside from wind chimes, who I met in Dark Sacred Region, I can't think of anyone else. Moreover, Old Man Song had also said that it was a woman. Moreover, it was a woman who would let DMO Xian escape. Among the women who coveted DMO Xian's beauty, other than Feng Ling that woman, there seemed to be no other woman who dared to negotiate with DMO Xian. Feng Ling actually had the tranquility orb in her hands. However, even if Wind Chime really had something that she got from Wind Chime, she didn't feel at ease using it. It's her. Old Man Song took a look at the calm Yi Qing Luo as his heart was filled with worry. He simply repeated the conversation between DMO Xian and Feng Ling after Yi Qing Luo had fainted. Following that, he sized up Yi Qing Luo's expression. He discovered that she was as calm as usual. Chapter 1734. Lass, aren't you worried? Old Man Song's spirit body swayed to Yi Qing Luo's side and sat down by her bed. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Xian won't. Her smile was calm, and so was her tone. Her confident tone made the expression on Old Man Song's face gradually show a trace of amiability. He laughed lowly. And since Feng Ling dares to use that thing to threaten Xian, then, that thing I must have it. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly, swaying and swaying, rippling a trace of evil smile. Old Man Song was stunned and suddenly shook his head helplessly. You two know each other too well. Yi Qing Luo raised a bright smile. Because we trust each other. You and him are really a match made in heaven. Old Man Song was dazed by Yi Qing Luo's bright smile for a moment. In his mind, the scene of DMO Xian carrying Yi Qing Luo, who was covered in blood, and walking out of the dark sacred region appeared. He remembered at that time, he said in the Azure Dew bracelet. What that woman said is true. Only the heart-setting pearl can stabilize the girl's profound jade heart. This Lord knows. DM Xian's voice was calm. If you know, why refuse? Old Man Song could see that DM Xian really cared about Yiqing Luo. But he refused so bluntly. Wasn't he worried that it would agitate Feng Ling and destroy the heart-setting pearl or something? DM Xian lowered his eyes and gazed deeply at the pale person in his arms. Because she won't agree. Old Man Song had no words to refute. Indeed, Yiqing Luo would not agree. For a heart-setting pearl, she lost her beloved man. This kind of thing, Yiqing Luo would rather die than agree. If this lord really agreed to Feng Ling's request, it would be the real harm to little Luo. DM Xian's voice was soft, with a trace of trembling. This lord will absolutely not do anything to hurt little Luo in the name of love. That words carried a deep tenderness. Even Old Man Song, who had long sealed his heart for thousands of years, couldn't help but be touched. Old Man Song sighed softly. As an elder, DM Xian's attention and concern towards Yiqing Luo made him feel gratified and happy for her. But as the Azure Dew Bracelet's guardian, as Yiqing Luo's contractor, he didn't wish for any accidents to happen to Yiqing Luo's body. He had to obtain the heart-calming pearl. Lil Luo needs the heart-calming bead. I will find a way to get it. DM Xian seemed to have guessed Old Man Song's thoughts. More importantly, Lil Luo will definitely want to personally obtain what she wants. His little Luo was never one to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. She had never needed to hide under his wings and rely on him to survive. Because of this, he let Feng Ling go. Windling was not qualified to make a deal with him. If he wanted to obtain the tranquility bead, he would have to find a way to obtain it. He could have taken it from Wenqim, in the darkness sacred region. Even if the imperial palace's granny appeared in person, he would not give them any face. But DM Xian understood Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo knew that the tranquil pearl was in Feng Ling's hands, she must want to personally obtain the tranquility orb from Feng Ling. Old Man Song regained his senses from his memories. His kind and gentle eyes quietly looked at Yiqing Luo. You first recuperate well from your injuries. During this period of time, I will try my best to suppress your profound jade heart's abnormal movements. Yiqing Luo smiled as she nodded. I know. However, in the depths of her smile, there was a trace of cold glint hidden. Feng Ling wanted to kill her, and even wanted to snatch her man. Chapter 1735. The news of Yiqing Luo's awakening had spread throughout the entire South Continent. In just a short span of 2 days, Sky First Residence's courtyard was filled with various academies' directors, elders and students. The gifts piled up could fill up a room. Especially the various academy students. Their attitude towards Yiqing Luo was filled with passion. They simply couldn't wait to worship Yiqing Luo like a fairy. In the various academy students' hearts, after everything that happened in the Blazing Flame Nest, Yiqing Luo was already the Nine Heavens' mysterious fairy. She even used her own power to seal the King of Darkness's consciousness from 10,000 years ago. For Nirvana Realm's safety, she almost paid the price of her life. This kind of young lady was exactly a fairy. The Academy's directors, no matter if it was for the sake of appearances, or to build a relationship with Yiqing Luo, of course, the most important thing was to build a relationship with those few powerhouses behind Yiqing Luo. All of them fawned on her. It could be said that this time, Yiqing Luo was completely famous. And she was famous in the entire Nirvana realm. Looking at the hustle and bustle outside the house, looking at Tong Ziqing and the rest, who were busy moving those extremely valuable gifts, Yiqing Luo pinched her brows tiredly. If you're tired, let them go back first. Long Yunzhan acutely noticed Yiqing Luo's expression as he spoke with concern. These gifts we don't. These are all exchanged with my life. I almost died in the dark sacred region. Just a few words of thanks, what's the use? Yiqing Luo shook her head as she yawned. These things are merely external objects, don't disturb your peaceful rest. Long Yunzhan frowned slightly, feeling slightly displeased with Yiqing Luo's attitude. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. I've made such a huge contribution this time, saving so many people from various academies. The things that they sent over, no matter how bad, would not be lower than the miraculous grade. Moreover, there are so many precious and rare medicinal herbs. Why wouldn't I want these things that are sent to me for free? So what if it's external objects? If there weren't these external objects, we would all die on the streets. Your body. Long Yunjian knew that he couldn't reason with Yi Qing Luo, so he could only sigh helplessly. No problem. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. Even if she wanted to recuperate, she did not have the mood to recuperate, nor could she settle down to recuperate. He might as well meet the people from the various academies. Not only would they receive all kinds of valuable gifts, but they would also be able to show their faces in front of the various major forces. In the future, when they went to other continents, they would at least have a backer to rely on. One had to know that when one was outside, one had to rely on one's friends and thighs. More importantly, she wanted to kill time. She wanted to occupy all her time with busyness. That way, she wouldn't think about it anymore, that peerless man. She would no longer have the urge to strangle that man who only knew how to flirt with her. After chatting with old man Song that day, she was after all still an injured patient. Not long after, she fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, Kitty Li and Yin Xiaoyi were sitting at the head of the bed. Their exclamations attracted the attention of the people outside the door. Long Yunjian, Xiaojin Tong Ziqing, Mo Yuing. After that, there was Holy Pirate, Ghost Doctor, Ghost Warrior, and Zoemo. However, the peerless purple figure was nowhere to be seen. She was slightly astonished and wanted to ask Dmo Xian, but she saw Yin Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing's evasive gaze. Chapter 1736. Wait for him to return? Wait his grandpa. She was lying on the bed with serious injuries and was still unconscious. He actually left just like that? Left. Hadn't he guarded her for 3 days and 3 nights without eating, drinking or sleeping? Just a little bit more. Couldn't he have persevered a little more? Was it the way she woke up was wrong? Or was it the way she woke up was wrong? The correct way shouldn't be when she woke up from serious injuries and saw her beloved man sitting by the bedside with a haggard look. Then she would touch the stubble on his chin, feeling heartache? Look, how romantic and beautiful was this. She would be so touched that she would devote her life to him. But unfortunately, such a beautiful and romantic plot, when it came to her, turned into this. Even if Yi Qing Luo usually looked like a man, but in front of Dmo Xian, she was still a little lady. Women, more or less, had that little bit of romantic feelings. For example, she had almost lost her life this time. Of course she hoped that she could open her eyes and see Dmo Xian by her side. Although she knew clearly that Dmo Xian would suddenly leave after guarding her for 3 days and 3 nights, there must be an extremely important matter, which required him to settle personally. But she was feeling unhappy. She just wanted to throw a tantrum at Dmo Xian. The bustling noise beside her ears made Yi Qing Luo retract her soul trace from her memories. Yi Qing Luo shook her head, throwing that wicked man out of her mind. Yin Xiaoyi and the others stood by the side, and when they saw Yi Qing Luo's expression, it was the same as yesterday when she heard that Dmo Xian wasn't around. A flash of desolation flashed past. They all sighed one after another, and no one tried to dissuade Yi Qing Luo. Qing Luo. Long Yunjian's eyes were filled with worry. Your body. Suddenly his sleeves were tugged. Long Yunjian glanced sideways and saw Tong Ziqing tugging his sleeves lightly, shaking her head at him. Long Yunjian stopped his voice. Anyone could tell the reason why Yi Qing Luo kept on receiving people from various academies. They were helpless too. The overlord was obviously so worried about Qing Luo. Why did he have to leave on the same day when Qing Luo woke up? How could it be so coincidental? Luckily, Ghost Doctor had already ascertained that Yi Qing Luo's external injuries were almost completely healed, and her internal injuries would only need to recuperate for a few more days before she could jump around again. That was why they didn't forcefully stop Yi Qing Luo's actions. It was already the evening of the same day. The sky gradually darkened. Only then did the number of people in House Tian gradually decrease. The students of the Devil class were packing up the presents. The dean and vice dean of the general hospital also walked into room 1 with gifts of thanks. Rupin led the 2 principals into the room. Their faces suddenly stiffened. Soon after, he looked around the room and his nose twitched, as if he was smelling something. Yiqing Luo was puzzled and was about to ask. The strange expression on the president's face changed as he smiled amiably. "Student Yiqing Luo, are you feeling better?" Yiqing Luo was about to get up, but was stopped by the director. "You're not feeling well, so you don't have to bother about the formalities." Yiqing Luo looked at the general courtyard's smiling face and knew that this director probably needed her help with something. "Student Yiqing Luo is our main academy's big hero, the hero who saved the various academies. In future when she sees us, there's no need for her to bow." Vice President chimed in from the side. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. Towards these 2 principals, Yiqing Luo didn't have any antipathy towards them. The both of them were truly thinking for the academy. They were also sincerely restricting every academy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to request for Master Ghost Marshal to provide special training for the students who were here to take part in the academy's exchange meet. Chapter 1737. The principal and vice principal seemed to have expected that Yiqing Luo would not beat around the bush. Hearing her words, the 2 of them exchanged glances. Following that, the 2 smiling faces faced Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo. Why did she feel a chill down her spine? Why did he feel that the seemingly amiable and friendly smiles of these 2 were hiding a strong sense of conspiracy? "Student Yiqing Luo, can we have a private chat?" the vice principal asked with a smile. Yiqing Luo looked at Pan, who was behind the vice principal, and shook her head at her. Rupin bowed at the 2 elders and left the room. She even closed the door on her way out. In the room, there were only the 2 principals, and the trio of Yiqing Luo left. "Student Yiqing Luo, are you interested in joining the main courtyard?" The principal didn't beat around the bush as he asked directly. His smiling eyes were filled with admiration towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was stunned. She had not expected the main courtyard's principal to raise such an invitation to her. Join the main courtyard? What kind of place was the main courtyard? That was the place that controlled the entire Nirvana realm and various academies. She was just a 15-year-old young lass who had yet to graduate. Join the main courtyard? Were you sure it wasn't a joke? The vice principal saw Yiqing Luo's misgivings as he smiled amiably. "Of course we are not asking you to join the main courtyard immediately. If you want to join now, we are naturally happy to do so. As for your young age, and the fact that you have yet to graduate, there's no need to worry about that. Your performance in the Blazing Flame Nest was witnessed by all the students from the various academies. Even Master Gui Wu and the 5 instructors were full of praises for you. Moreover, you saved the students from the various academies, saved the main courtyard's reputation, and with your own strength, you sealed the King of Darkness's consciousness completely, and even persuaded the Overlord to help in exterminating the dark forces. This is all your credit. It's you who saved the main courtyard, saved the Nirvana realm." His every word was filled with indescribable pride. The gaze he used to look at Yiqing Luo was filled with admiration. "Don't worry about your qualifications. As long as you nod your head, the various academies, including the main courtyard, will absolutely not have any objections." The vice principal continued, looking at director and vice director's hopeful gaze. Yiqing Luo rubbed her nose as she gave a few dry laughs. The main academy was indeed the place where countless deans and elders of the academy would fight to enter. It was also the dream of countless students. But she couldn't spend her entire life in the academy or the headquarters. The limitations were too small. She also had a group of brothers. In the future, she was bound to make a name for herself. If he confined himself to the general courtyard, she didn't get any more growth. Student Yiqing Luo. The director looked at the gleam in Yiqing Luo's eyes as he sighed softly. How would he not be able to tell Yiqing Luo's ambition? How could they not tell that Yiqing Luo's future would not be limited to the headquarters. She was an eagle spreading its wings. There was a wider world. There was a more dazzling and long-term future. But a glint flashed across the dean's eyes as he recalled the words that Gui Wu had said. This girl was very likely to surpass the limit of the Nirvana realm and step into the plane of the upper realm. The expression on the director's face became more resolute. Student Yiqing Luo, are you interested in the position of the General Courtyard's director? This time, Yiqing Luo was completely astonished. She blinked her eyes in astonishment. The General Courtyard's director? The director actually wanted to give his position to her? How much did he want her to enter the General Courtyard? Chapter 1738. Last, don't be too surprised. Vice President chuckled as he caressed Yiqing Luo's head. In this short period of time, you don't need to sit on the president's position. You can enter the headquarters as the successor, so don't have too much pressure. This was called not having too much pressure? Wasn't the pressure shocking enough? Successor to the headquarters president? Could she reject it? Last, don't belittle the power of the headquarters. A sharp light flashed in the depths of the dean's eyes as he slowly enticed. If you enter the headquarters and become its successor, in the future, no matter where you go, as long as you are the successor of the headquarters, you can mobilize the forces of any academy to fight for you. The vice president added, including the students of any academy. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. This was indeed a temptation. Nirvana realm had 4 continents and each continent had at least hundreds of academies. If she could mobilize any school's power, that meant that no matter which corner of the world she went to, as long as she was in Nirvana realm, she could call for help anytime. President and vice president smiled at each other. This last had a big heart, giving her a strong backing so that she could rest assured and charge forward without any hesitation, growing to a shocking extent. It was indeed the right choice. Last, just agree to it. This is beneficial to you. Vice President took the opportunity to say. Unknowingly, their address towards her had changed from student Yiqing Luo to Lass. Yiqing Luo laughed secretly. These 2 old men were really planning for the General Institute all the time. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply, President and Vice President were getting anxious. To ordinary students, this was a joyous occasion. Even if it was other academies' presidents, they would probably abandon the academy and run over to the headquarters when they heard this news. Why did it fall on Yiqing Luo? Why did they feel a deep sense of disdain? Yiqing Luo despised the position of the headquarters successor? Such a huge temptation was placed in front of her. How could she despise it? Just as the president and vice president were in a dilemma, the silent Yiqing Luo finally opened her mouth. Entering the headquarters, it's not impossible. Upon hearing that there was hope, the vice school head's eyes lit up. You agree? Yiqing Luo shook her head. As you all know, other than being a student of the Heavenly Academy, I am also the young matriarch of the Three Springs sect. The vice principal and principal were stunned. I'm still the vice captain of the World Mercenary Group. I still have my group of brothers. If I become the successor of the General Institute, I will be irresponsible to them. Will you rest assured in letting such an irresponsible person become the successor of the General Institute? Yiqing Luo's words made the principal and vice principal speechless momentarily. What Yiqing Luo said was indeed reasonable. If he became the successor of the General Courtyard, she had to focus all her attention on the General Hospital. What about the Three Springs sect? What about the World Group? Making Yiqing Luo give up Three Springs sect and the World Group, choosing the headquarters. They would probably be worried again. In the future, would this girl give up on the headquarters for other reasons? With this thought in mind, the expressions of the vice school heads changed slightly. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. I have an idea, but it depends on whether the 2 directors agree to it or not. What idea? The vice principal looked at Yiqing Luo in unison. Chapter 1739. The World Group's Vice Group Leader? Take up residence? President and Vice President were stunned. They had not expected Yi Qing Luo to raise such a request. You can just give me the status of an elder to take up residence. Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she didn't see the shock on the two presidents' faces as she continued. This way, since I'm a member of your headquarters, I have not abandoned the world group. Pausing for a moment, she gave an innocent smile. More importantly, not only can the headquarters win over a talent like me, you can also win over my brothers in the world group. Following that, she raised her head as she blinked her innocent and pure eyes. Both presidents, do you feel that my method is awesome? President. Vice President. Their faces turned green and white. His face twitched uncontrollably. Awesome? To her, of course it was awesome. But to the headquarters, there was no benefit at all. They gave Yi Qing Luo the promise of being the successor, because they had their eyes on Yi Qing Luo's potential. This lass, her innate talent was high, her character was good, and she had such a strong backing behind her. If she were to become the successor of the General Institute, the strength of the General Institute would definitely rise. More importantly, in the future, Yi Qing Luo really fulfilled Gui Wu's prophecy. If she rose to the upper realm, their headquarters would also have an awesome character from the upper realm, solidifying their status in the Nirvana realm. This plan was well thought out by them. But Yi Qing Luo totally had no intention to follow along with them. The difference between the elder and the successor was huge. The elder who was stationed could leave the headquarters anytime and anywhere. Furthermore, if they really wanted to take up residence, what was the point of bringing along the world group? They were all a bunch of stinky brats. Their status in the world had not even stabilized yet. If they were to take up residence, they should represent Three Springs sect to show their sincerity, right? No matter what, Three Springs sect represented the entire West continent. This lass could actually put on a serious face, innocently saying that this method was awesome. Looking at the dean and vice dean's ever-changing expressions, Zhang Xian could not help but sigh. Yi Qing Luo's smile was like a flower as she blinked her pure eyes, and spoke in an extremely serious tone. Of course, I will represent the world group to take up residence in the headquarters, so the treatment I will enjoy will be the same as what you gave me previously. Uft. The vice president spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. This girl, is she really only 15 years old? He was completely sinister and cunning to the point of devouring people, without spitting out the bones. He brought a bunch of unknown youngsters to settle in, and he even had to enjoy the rights and privileges of an heir. How much confidence did Yi Qing Luo have to be able to say such words in such a serious manner? One had to know that not everyone could enter the headquarters. He wanted to enter the headquarters and become a member of the headquarters. They had to go through countless tests, and their comprehensive strength in all aspects had to reach the standard. From Yi Qing Luo's words, why did it feel that their main courtyard was the entrance of the vegetable market? However, this girl's arrogant and egotistical manner made it hard for anyone to hate her. Instead, he had an inexplicable urge to trust her. Somehow he felt that Yi Qing Luo would make such a solemn vow to raise such a request. He would definitely repay them with equal benefits. She was just a 15-year-old girl. It gave them an indescribable feeling of trust. This lass, it was really poisonous. The principal and vice principal's emotions were stirred up by Yi Qing Luo until it became extremely complicated. Originally he thought that after mentioning about the successor, Yi Qing Luo would definitely agree readily. He had not expected Yi Qing Luo to demand such an exorbitant price. Chapter 1740. After hesitating for some time, the principal rubbed his hands together as he tried to probe. Lass, since we've already made up our minds, I have a question and you have to answer me honestly. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose. Principal, please ask. Imperial Tutor prophesied that the descent of the blazing flame nest's divine object would cause numerous cultivators to perish in the blazing flame nest. As the principal spoke, his gaze was fixated on Yi Qing Luo, not letting go of any changes in her expression. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she gave a sweet smile. Amen, I've heard of it. But, Ever since you entered the blazing flame nest, Imperial Tutor said that the divine object's presence had already disappeared. The principal cleared his throat as he continued. That's right. The principal was just guessing. The divine object which Imperial Tutor prophesied was already in Yi Qing Luo's hands. After all, this lass had created too many miracles. Even if they told him that she had really contracted the divine object, which Imperial Tutor prophesied, they wouldn't be surprised. He only wanted to hear it from Yi Qing Luo's own mouth. After all, the divine object which made various powerhouses and numerous cultivators risked their lives to get it. If it really fell into Yi Qing Luo's hands, towards the request which Yi Qing Luo had raised earlier, they could add a few more points of consideration. Yi Qing Luo's pupils expanded as she put on a shocked expression. The divine object disappeared? Yi Qing Luo's look made the vice principal's hopeful expression change slightly. It looked like the divine object had not fallen into Yi Qing Luo's hands. Then, why did the divine object's presence in the blazing flame nest disappear? Yi Qing Luo restrained her gaze as she smiled slightly. She didn't want to expose the fact that Vermilion Bird was the divine object in the blazing flame nest. Lass, how about this? Let us consider for a few days, and it won't delay your return to Heavenly Academy. We'll give you an answer during these few days of recuperation. The principal sighed lightly as he said helplessly. Yi Qing Luo's eyes curved as she smiled as she nodded her head sweetly. Just like a 15-year-old young lady, what she should look like. But Yi Qing Luo's earlier words simply couldn't make the principal and vice principal think of her as an innocent and naive young lady. Towards this matter, Yi Qing Luo wouldn't intentionally press for an answer. After all, her request was not only ridiculous in the eyes of the general hospital, but even she herself felt that it was ridiculous. If the dean and the vice dean agreed, she was the one who was flattered. If she had said that she was representing the Three Springs sect's young sect master to enter the main courtyard, then perhaps the dean of the general hospital had just agreed. But Three Springs sect, her scum father's Three Springs sect. She really didn't want to be involved in anything at all. Moreover, the World Group was more reliable than Three Springs sect no matter what. At least in the future. The World Group was the #1 mercenary group in Nirvana Realm. Yi Qing Luo collected her thoughts and suddenly thought of something as she asked with a smile. That's right, Principal. Where are the traitors of our Heavenly Academy being locked up? The vice principal was still immersed in Yi Qing Luo's conditions, and when he suddenly heard Yi Qing Luo's question, he had yet to react in time. You mean, Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian? The vice principal came back to his senses. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.